Chapter 4, 1945. The war winds down and finally ends. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront reading war news in the Philippines, Dad says no civilian in the world has any knowledge of the army or the war. He asks Mom if she got her hope chest so she can buy a lot of household items for their future home. He's waiting for her Christmas package to arrive. She makes big points with her future mother and father-in-law by sending gifts. January 8, 1945. My sweetheart, I read the article you sent me from your local paper. The only thing wrong is the article is written by a civilian. There isn't a civilian in the world who knows what the score is in the army. The article itself was good though. I always say only the weak-minded ones fall on the wrong side of life. You keep worrying about me, hon, and you have no reason to fear. I'm telling you that I have strong willpower. It is a good thing to have in the army wherever you are placed. Remember, I'll be a good boy. A lot of boys lose their girl and start drinking, and oh well, you know the rest. I have everything in the world I could ever want now. I would never do anything to spoil it. I will try my hardest not to make you unhappy. I feel sure you share the same concept. By the way, hon, did you get your hope chest yet? Did the amount of money I sent you cover the cost? If not, I'll peel off a few greenbacks and send them along to you. I have $500 in our company safe and can get my hands on it quickly, so if you ever need it, just let me know. Please do this, emergency or otherwise. I wish I knew what you want or need. I would take care of it. I know there is a lot of things I want to do if only I had you by my side. Just keep smiling and I will try to imagine what your pretty face looks like. Loving you truly, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad hasn't received any of Mom's Christmas packages. However, he says everyone should remember this war is moving fast and ships are needed for men and materials. January 11, 1945. Dear Mary, I haven't received any of your Christmas packages yet. However, I remember I did get them around this time last year, so there is a lot of hope they will come soon. We have to remember this war is moving fast. Ships are needed for men and materials, so if mail service is slow, there is a very good reason. I still have some of my Christmas beer left from last year. I try to make it last. I think my handwriting is getting poor. It looks more like chicken scratch. I have my mind on you, and you are a darling to remember my folks at Christmas time. It was very nice of you to send them those gifts. I guess I really have a very thoughtful and sweet girl. I'll never figure out how I rate by finding you, but I'm not complaining. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad calls Mom his darling sweet girl as he has a picture of her wearing a sweater with all her curves. He's been able to get a Jap rifle, sword, and bayonet from an infantryman who has returned from the war front. January 12, 1945. My darling sweater girl. I just can't take my eyes off those latest pictures. My, what a pretty sweater you are wearing. We can hang some pictures over our fireplace or on the wall in our living room. All the boys keep asking me to see them. They say, Johnny, let me see your sweater girl so I can keep my morale up to standard. I got myself a Jap rifle, sword, and bayonet from an infantryman who recently returned from action. To be on the safe side, I'll bring these things home in person. I have built myself a shortwave and longwave receiver from an Aussie battery set so I have music at my fingertips again. This is in addition to my little portable radio set I'm saving for us. We'll be able to take it with us to go on a picnic or on the beach. I can just picture you and I at the beach. We will be laying out in the sun listening to the radio. You will be all dressed up with your curves, and I will be so proud of you. I'll never forget those warm and tender cheeks. Oh, how I trouble myself just talking about them. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad continues to accumulate points toward his furlough. He met a fellow from his old company who was transferred into a bomb squadron, and they catch up with the war news together. He remains positive the Japs are slowly losing the battle. January 14, 1945. Dearest Mary, I'm half away to my furlough, and after 3 days of waiting, I'm still getting nowhere in a hurry. I'm watching for transportation by air. Oh well, I'll get there in a fortnight, as the Aussies say. I met a fellow who transferred out of my old company into a bomb squadron. He is on his way home, for he was able to get 15 missions in and came out without a scratch. He only flew for 7 months, so you can see he was really very busy. He took part in all things you heard in the newspaper a few months ago. Every time a Zero is shot down at the front, it's stripped of almost everything in 10 minutes after crashing. All the boys want to get a sample of it. Love, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Dad has been sending Mom copies of Yank and Guinea Gold newspapers. It is a new year and they are still writing and waiting for each other. They really want the war to end so that they can be together. January 14, 1945. Even though I sent you a nice booklet last week, I thought I would write this letter. Now, Mr. Puzzlesny, how do you expect me to answer these 25 letters I received all at one time? You are so wonderful to me, so I will do my best to start answering them. I've been receiving your Yank and Guinea Gold newspapers all of this time, and I am saving them for you. You know, dear, you are my biggest worry. If only I knew you were well, safe, and happy, I would feel more relieved. The idea you had about writing my New Year letters, each with a few hours in between, was so cute, Johnny. One was written December 31, 1944, and the other one was written at 1:45 a.m. I received them both at the same time. You always ask me why I insist on keeping the living room light on when we sit on the sofa. We shall see if I'm able to shut it off when you come home. We had a lovely Christmas and New Year, honey. I went to midnight mass with my sister Margie and my brother Leon and one of my friends. It was a lovely service, but I missed you terribly. A friend of ours dropped by to say hello to us. He brought his little Victrola and some swell records. This fellow is young, but he isn't able to work because he has asthma. He got sick at Pearl Harbor, where he was an electrician for the government. Now he is a football coach for the kids around here. They're all crazy about him. I told him all about our love affair, and he can't believe the fact that two people live so far apart, but they are so in love. Your sweetheart, Mary. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom tells Dad how she spent her New Year's Eve. She also treated herself to a movie. She took her sister Jeannie and mother as well. January 15, 1945. My dearest, let me tell you a little bit about New Year's Eve. Jeannie's boyfriend Frankie had to play his accordion at some club that night, so she and I felt very much alone. When the church bells rang at 12 p.m., I pressed your picture to my heart and said a prayer for you. Oh, honey, I like all those pictures you sent me. They will help us make a nice album after we are married. I would like to see more pictures of you, as I could never get tired of looking at pictures of you. The other night, Jeannie, mother, and I went out to the movies. We saw the story of Dr. Weasel with Gary Cooper and Lorraine Day. I was thinking about the time we walked to the theater in Manville one evening. I'll never forget how you dried my tears with your large white handkerchief. You were so gentle and kind to me. Your loving sweetheart, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, the American boys consider the Australian 9th Division the best fighting outfit in the world. Dad receives a Christmas card from Mom. She and Dad agree about the way they express "my wish is your wish" for the coming New Year. January 16, 1945. My dearest one, our boys consider the Australian 9th Division the best fighting outfit in the world. They truly are great jungle fighters. This 9th Division was on Tobruk, Libya, so they are seasoned troops. All the Aussies marvel at our vast equipment. It's so superior to anything else they've ever seen. It takes a short time for our Yanks to get Jap trucks, planes, and equipment to any newly recaptured island. The Japs just don't have a chance. I've been keeping my eyes on a line of guys in front of the American Red Cross. Now I see the line is short, so I guess I'll go over and get myself a shot of coffee and a few sandwiches to fill my empty stomach. Don't ever think for a moment that because I'm going on my leave, I should forget everything and you too. You know I couldn't do that. Sweetheart, I received your Christmas card today, and I want to thank you for it. The way you said, "My wish is your wish" for the coming New Year was sweet music to my ears. The little saying inside expresses what we both feel about each other. You congratulated me for doing more work in the Army. Now you have that all wrong. Rank does not determine how much work a soldier completes. What it means is that recognition for work one did is given. Of course, if no position was open, I'd still be a private even if I was doing general's work. Back in the States, it's different because you might have to drill men. That was very nice of the gang at your factory to give you a birthday cake. I can just picture that cake with the 26 candles on it. It was very sweet of you to place my picture next to it, even though it might have spoiled the celebration. What I wouldn't give to have been in that picture's place. That would have been a swell time to announce our engagement, eh, hon? Now no tears, sweetheart. Love, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom congratulates Dad on earning the rank of Staff Sergeant. She finds out Dad really knows how to save money. He wants to save it for their marriage and dream home. January 18, 1945. My loving sweetheart. Congratulations, Staff Sergeant, and lots of luck to you, honey. However, you didn't surprise me because I know you are as smart as a whip. I do hope you will be home before Christmas so I can decide on a gift for you. My whole family cannot wait to welcome you home for good. We all continue to think of you and pray for your safe return to the States. Your honey, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad has filled his stomach with ice cream and enjoyed 3 glasses of beer after a tennis match. The infantryman told him 2 years fighting in Africa is as hard as 6 months in New Guinea. He feels lucky to be working for the Army Air Corps. January 20, 1945. Hello, hon. How are you? I'm just filled up with ice cream. I shouldn't eat anymore. I'm afraid my teeth will rattle almost as loud as that little cart of mine. This place is the kind where you can let your hair down and the military police won't bother you at all. I enjoyed 3 glasses of beer after my tennis match. This was my first taste of beer in a long while, so you see I do behave myself. I was told by infantrymen that fighting for 2 years in Africa is as hard as 6 months in New Guinea. They finished their 2 years of fighting in Africa, and now they are presently fighting at the front lines in New Guinea. As you can see, it's no party here. That is true in the infantry, but not so much in the other parts of the Army Air Corps. I can safely say my work is the most pleasant in the Army. I'm very lucky and also blessed to have you as my gal. I love you very much. USO Commando, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad describes his activities shown by the pictures he is sending Mom to save for the album. He apologized for the lighting in the pictures seemed to be dark. January 22, 1945. Dear Mary, I have enclosed a few pictures. They might have been damaged by traveling through the mail, so I will describe them to you. The picture with the 2 ears is the way you will see me when I get home. The sign is on our supply room. There's the one with me holding a Jap sniper's gun. That's my apartment in the background. The dark picture is in radio repair. The last one is how I'm working with my mess equipment. How about coming over to help me dry my knife, fork, and spoon? Another one was taken in front of our projection room. I don't care too much for those pictures, for I know they're not the best. Oh well, you asked for them, so here they are. Disappointed? Now don't tell me I look thin because I'm not thin. I weigh 158 pounds, so there. Darling, I feel so alone without you. Each night, just after I get ready for bed, I take a picture of yours and look at it for a while. Then I'm happy when I hit the hay, for I know I have someone who is waiting at home for me. You mean the world to me, and nothing can ever stop me from loving you so much. Lots of love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, still in the Philippines, Dad is curious and asks Mom to confirm the rumor that women in the States are starting to smoke pipes. He helped out at the post office and saw a lot of mailbags. He says he's earned enough money to buy 6 rolls of film by fixing a guy's radio. January 24, 1945. Dear Sweater Gal, how's my sweater gal these days? That picture of you in the sweater sure made me feel warm and cozy. I heard the women in the States are starting to smoke pipes. Would you know by any chance if they are using a corn cob? I just got back from the post office. I helped them with the packages and tin holders. If you ever want to send me something, the best way is to send it first class and in a paper box or tin holder. I never saw so many bags of mail lying under canvas tape. In case you wondered, I didn't get any mail. Darn it. Take care of yourself and remember this guy thinks you are some dish. You're plenty of everything. That's figuratively speaking with the accent on the figure, if you know what I mean. Love, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad notices some of the boys making some time with the local gals. He is so handy that he can make money by turning up radios for the guys. Luckily, he has acquired quite a few rolls of film. January 26, 1945. Hi, hun. I just wanted to tell you some of the boys seem to be making some time with the local gals around here. I can't see what the attraction is, for they look too much like a Negro to me. None of that for me. I got 6 rolls of film from a fellow for turning up his radio. I now have quite a few rolls, 10 at least. Of course, you have to behave. If you behave yourself, I'll send some along to you. You now have a copy of all the pictures I could lay my hands on. It's not a bad collection we own, huh, kid? Our kids sure will get a kick out of them when they grow up. I know don't count the chickens before time. You know how it is, my sweet one. There is a small rotation quota for this month. However, no one with the same number of months as I have accumulated has gone home. Time sometimes seems to be flying fast for me. However, when I start thinking of you, it feels like a lifetime. You have me thinking this way. Now what are you going to do about it? I'll do plenty. Your lover boy, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, remaining in the Philippines, Dad is feeling pretty good due to the fact that he received 3 letters from Mom. He assures Mom of his love and is looking forward to marriage and their future together. February 3, 1945. I'm feeling pretty good right now because I received 3 letters from you. It seems you and I dream the same way. Hun, I say a prayer every night for us. I know you cherish pictures of me like I do yours. I wish I could take my picture's place under your pillow. I know how it is when a pretty girl like you gets many invitations from fellows. Even then I can imagine you refuse in a polite way. Honey, that's how I know you love me. You are my only love that holds my heart. Also, you are the only girl I ever want to have as my wife. I know we'll make more definite plans later. My love to you, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad is looking forward to seeing Mom once again and moving on toward their wedding day. This time he developed some pictures himself and is sending them to her. February 6, 1945. Dear honey, one of the biggest moments of our lives will be when I come back to you after all this time spent overseas. It will feel like our greatest moment as well as our wedding day. I can almost imagine how it will feel to have you wrap yourself in my arms. Your 10 years will be running down your face, and I will be fluffing your hair with my hands. I can't wait for those sweet kisses I love and haven't had for so long. I have enclosed more pictures that I developed myself. Some of them did not come out so well. The paper used may have been old, and the prints could have had some moisture on them. I want you to have them. I still miss you a lot and love you with all my heart. Love, Lonesome Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad feels like the luckiest guy because he knows Mom will be there for him when he returns. He's hopeful all this positive war news means a closer end of the war. February 8, 1945. Dearest Mary, I'm answering your letter with the cute feather in it. You say you are worried about me smoking my pipe. Well, kid, it's not as bad as you think. I'm happy, and about one of the luckiest guys for many reasons. You are my biggest reason I am happy, so I have no reason to smoke too much. Please don't worry about me so much. I don't want to find any wrinkles on your face unless it's from that cute little grin of yours. Hasn't the war news been good lately? All this positive information means a lot to us. The sooner this war is over, the sooner we can be together again. All we can do is hope and pray for this situation to be resolved. Love, your Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Dad asks Mom to accept some money to save for him. However, Mom does not want to be held responsible for it. He also wanted to know if the women on the home front are smoking pipes. Mom says women are even starting to smoke cigars. February 10, 1945. Hello, my love. Listen, Mr. Puslizny, don't you dare offer me $50 to hold on to for you. You and I are in love, sure, but I don't want the responsibility of holding on to all that money. You hold on to it, or put it in a bank for safekeeping. Gosh, honey, one of your letters sure was interesting. The letter was about how those Filipino men had to go out and fight in the jungle as guerrillas. They didn't have to see the Japs because they could smell them first. That's quite amazing. I hate to think of you having to go and fight in the jungle. You better be careful and come home in one piece. You're right about women starting to smoke pipes. Some have even started to smoke cigars. Men have to roll their own cigarettes as you have no idea how hard it is to get them. No store has any. There was a black market seller in Manville, but now he's in jail. My love to you, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad teases Mom pretending to be afraid of her ways. Mom's New Year's Eve party in the States was very quiet compared to the Army celebration. The guys had an air raid alert for an hour, followed by guns going off loudly. They also got tipsy. February 10, 1945. My dear sweetheart, you say the stationery isn't long enough to write what you will do to me when I return. My, are you really going to be that rough on poor little me? I'm afraid. Oh, yeah. I have a few things up my sleeve besides my arm. What is this no job you're giving me? We shall see what we shall see. I'll really melt when I see you. Just wait and see. I see you spent your New Year's very quietly. Well, here it certainly was different. We had an air raid alert for almost an hour, and so many guns were going off that it ended up being quite loud. If you saw all the tipsy boys everywhere, and you had people calling on the phone every 5 minutes, you would be mixed up as well. It was very sweet of you to hold my picture close to your heart and say a prayer for us. Boy, wouldn't that have been a great time for me to walk into your room. You give me heck for not sending you more pictures of myself. Well, it has been very hard to find film, but now I have enough. I do hope my new pictures come out better. Maybe I should get my face lifted or something. Mostly something. On the other hand, if I go to see you at night, it wouldn't be so noticeable. Your honey, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Mom tells Dad the insurance company won't permit anyone to wear dresses. For the first time in months, Dad is hopeful his incoming mail is going to a correct APO address. February 13, 1945. Dearest Mary, you say the insurance company doesn't permit you to wear dresses anymore. What a shame. You sure put that situation in cute words. No one will get a treat seeing you in a dress with those lovely legs. I guess you can only wear slacks. I have heard there is a shortage of nylon stockings. Now you know us men don't pay any attention to that. Ain't I the biggest liar? Now for the first time in months, our mail is finally going to the correct APO address. I do hope you're getting my Yank newspapers. I think the magazine of January 12, 1945 is very interesting, don't you? Now I have a poem for you. Someone once said a speech ought to be like a woman's skirt. It should be long enough to cover the subject, yet short enough to sustain interest. A speaker says, I am a man of few words. I've been married a long time. I was addressing a girl's school the other day and I said, I'm happy to see so many shining faces before me. All the girls yanked out their powder puffs and touched up their faces. Love always, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad is indulging himself with ice cream and malted milkshakes. He is still dancing whenever he has time. He also had an opportunity to show off his floral designer skills by making corsages for a local lady who owns a florist and is a good egg. February 15, 1945. My dear Mary, I'm filling myself up with ice cream and malted milkshakes. I'm also dancing my fool head off. I can practice on these babes here so when I do get home, I won't be trampling my best gal's toes. See how lucky you are. I spent half of my day at a local florist next door to our American Red Cross. The lady who runs it is a good egg and nice to me. I made about 25 corsages for her. She had rather a big demand for corsages. There's going to be a Yank and Aussie wedding, so that's why she was so busy. She couldn't believe ones I made for her only weighed 6 ounces each. She said all the others that people made weighed a ton. It was fun helping her. The days drag on, so by spending it this way, it felt different. When I'm trying to write to other people, it is so hard to think of the words I want to say. However, with you, the words just come out naturally. Could it be love? You bet, my sweet one. Of course, with me telling you everything in my letters, it will leave me speechless when I get home. All I'll be good for is kissing and holding hands and that sort of stuff. Sounds tough, eh, kid? I hope my next move is in the direction of your heart. I guess this covers most of the old news, so I'll give you some good news. I'm going to shut my trap and mail this letter. Keep those lips nice and tender for me, hun. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad seems very happy and shares some funny poems with Mom in his letter. February 17, 1945. Hello, my dearest Mary. Just a few words to let you know I'm still alive and thinking of you. I am missing you an awful lot. The little dog walked by the tree. The tree said, "Have one on me." The dog blinked like Mickey Mouse and said, "No thanks, I just had one on the house." Here's a little poem for you. I had sworn to be a bachelor. She had sworn to be a bride. I guess you know the answer. She had nature on her side. Some girls talking. Men are all alike, said the first cutie. The second cutie said, "Yeah, men are all I like too. I had a date with a mind reader last night." "Really?" said Bill. "Did you have any fun?" "No," he said. "She sat around all night and blushed." We manicurists are luckier than most girls. Why is that? It's because we have so many men at our fingertips. No, it's because we always know where their hands are. You must think your Johnny has a screw loose. Can you help this old boy out? I'm going to the dogs. What have I ever done to them except chase them out of my bed? Love, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront reminiscing in the Philippines, Dad remembers how he and Mom celebrated their first Valentine's Day with roses and kisses. He is really missing her face, hair, eyes, and hands. February 18, 1945. Dear Mary, talk about timing. You sure did a good job. I received your Valentine's card today. I found it under my pillow for the fellows put it there and almost forgot to tell me. It was a sweet one, darling. I love that ladylike smell. Boy, how you do spoil me. You remembered the roses I gave you on our first Valentine's Day. What a memory you have. You know me, hun. If it's for my Mary, I'll do anything. You think of me an awful lot, don't you, hun? That goes double for me. All the fellows wonder how I am happy all the time. That's when I pull your picture off my tent and show them the reason. It seems I'm lucky in love. Everything is good. Now you can see why I'm always happy. I am because I know I have you for my very own. With love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad is remembering dancing cheek to cheek with Mom, and he tells her he is more determined to have her for his very own. February 19, 1945. My little darling. You don't have to explain anything to me about that Sunday we had our date. That was my biggest test. I found out from that experience how much you meant to me. I tried to get my mind off of you. Nothing could make me forget us dancing cheek to cheek. I finally drove home with tears in my eyes. I was never more determined in my life to have you for my very own. Little did you know how I felt when I was looking at you. I took in your face, your beautiful hair, those eyes and your hands. I even noticed that figure with the curves in all the right places. I can picture you in that white fluffy blouse. You even took a chance of spoiling it with a pin from the corsage I made for you. I don't remember if I told you what I did on my last furlough. I helped an Aussie florist and made 40 corsages. For her in a few hours. I wish you wouldn't worry so much about me being a bad boy. Didn't I behave when I was with you? Why shouldn't I be the same now? You know you are always in my heart no matter where I go. Keep on wondering, hun, but don't ever worry, for I'll never do anything to hurt you. I would like to cover those sweet warm lips of yours with mine and hold you tight. All in good time, I hope. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, getting mail still in the Philippines. Dad is wondering what he ever did to deserve such loving treatment from Mom. He is reminiscing about the first time he brought her to meet her folks. January 20, 1945. Dearest Mary, I received your letter of January 21, 1945 today. Man, oh man, why are you so sweet to me? What did I ever do to you to deserve such treatment? I'd love to see you in your work slacks. I bet you look cute. It's not the clothes, but what is poured into the outfit that makes the difference. Nature sure treated you in the right places. P.S. Blush, woman, blush. Be sure to save a few blushes for me. I remember the first suit I bought for myself. It was the one I wore all day I took you to see my folks. I was so nervous I stuttered. You were scared stiff that day even though I told you not to be afraid. You were so cute. How could anyone object to having their son go out with a girl like you? I never told my folks much about our attention to each other even up to this day. You know mothers can always figure things out. Speaking of figures, take good care of yours. Here are some jokes for you. Did you hear about the drunk who stood on a corner singing I Am a Pole? In a few minutes, an Airedale walked up to him. He looked him over and said, Okay, buddy, you asked for it. Many a rural romance started off with a bushel of corn and ended up with a crib. Love always, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front, still in the Philippines, Dad loves teasing Mom in a way that is loving and amusing. He remembers he did not say Mary, I love you on their first date. However, he realized it was written all over his face. February 23, 1945. Dearest Mary, I'm starting to set you straight as to who my little darling is and how much I love her. She is not too tall, has beautiful hair, and is caring and thoughtful. I wouldn't go into guessing her size, but her figure is perfect. She is wearing a grin that has an added feature. She just rolls those eyes. I'm trying my best to say what I mean. She rolls her stockings up her lovely legs. Can you guess who I am describing? Okay, I better give you a few more clues. She's always fussing with her hair, and never do I have to say, Woman, stay away from me. I'd be a damn fool, wouldn't I? She takes so long to say goodnight. It's no wonder she's my cup of tea. When I say something sweet to her, she says, Oh, Johnny, and hugs me tight. When I kiss her, she says, Why do you moan? I'll always remember you for that sound. It's so clear to me even after 2 years that I love that hungry look on your face. I hope you can take this kit, for I'm really rubbing it in. She would always take me for a little walk. We walked so close together, one would think we were holding each other so no one could fall. At the end of the walk, I give her a hug and kiss. I'm telling you, it was pure heaven to hold such a girl in my arms. I never came out and said, Mary, I love you. I knew it was written all over my face, even in the dark. I would drive away thinking about this special girl who makes my eyes water. You didn't know at the time, but I was afraid I'd lose you. I had to stake to claim to your affection. Each time I saw you, I got progressively braver. Soon I could see that she did care for me. Off I went to the army, you see, and the greatest gift went with me. Love, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front in the Philippines, Dad feels blessed to have a beautiful person at home waiting for him. He finds it easier to tell Mom anything when he writes to her. February 24, 1945. Dear Mary, I'm so blessed to have a beautiful person would be home waiting for me. I have tried so hard to make her proud of me. I hope I have succeeded. Mary, now you see what kind of shape I see myself. I'm happy as a lark. If I sound like I like riddles, hon, it's because I find it easier to speak this way in my letters. You know darn well that this old boy loves you a lot. When I get a chance to show you in person, lady, watch out. You will lose your last name and become a Mrs. You'll be so sweet to me forever and a day. Some jokes for you. Long ago, the private asked his friend, I want to know how long girls should be courted. The PFC said, the same as short ones. In modern times, in the good old days, when a fellow told a girl a naughty story, she blushed. At the present day, she memorizes it. Lots of love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front in the Philippines, Dad knows how grateful guys are when he fixes their radio equipment, and he makes a deal with his friend to find him some developer. The boys hear good news from San Francisco, telling everyone all restrictions on furloughs to home are lifted. February 25, 1945. Dear honey, we really will have a swell picture album after this war, for I'll still be sending more pictures to you. I'm short of developer, but if the fellow who promised to get me some comes through, I'll have plenty to use for more shots. I fixed his radio for him, and he was so grateful. He told me he would try to get what I needed. Our cook Joe is on his way home on rotation now. On the radio from San Francisco, California, we heard Chief of Staff Marshall say that all restrictions on furloughs to home were lifted. Anyone can go on furlough whether he holds a key position or any other position. We had one man who tried and was turned down. I guess all that talk was for the morale of the people at home and not for us. It's just like the statement that after Army Air Corps men come home, they're not inducted into the infantry in the States. I hope you got the things I sent to you. I would like to tell you that I got your packages, but I cannot. I saw a USO show with plenty of gals with that stuff boys love to see and girls love to have. You know what I mean for, baby. You got it. No kidding aside. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, it is an exciting time for Dad because he gets Mom's holiday packages filled with goodies and new pictures for his sweetheart. He wears her medal to church. February 26, 1945. Dearest Mary, I really don't have to say a word about the gifts you sent. You can tell by this paper I'm using that I finally got your packages. The main one came through in perfect shape and with pictures. The fruitcake was okay, but a little flat and squished. The candy was a little sticky, but we enjoyed it. The package that had noodle soup and sardines was great. Gosh, darling, you sure have good taste. Those pictures you sent were very nice. You look wonderful with those hungry lips and beautiful hair. I see you are wearing all the things I sent to you. I still think a ring on that certain finger would look well, don't you? I wore the medal you sent me to church and will always have it with me. It also had such a sweet little prayer. You sure are spoiling this boy. Soon you will be able to practice that grass skirt dance you promised me, for I am sending you one. I wish I could see your face when you read some of my letters. I see you are making sure I keep writing to you by sending me all those stamps and envelopes. They will come in handy. I'm sure all the good news on the radio and in newspapers makes you as happy as it does for me. I have a joke for you. Love is a game that is never postponed on account of darkness. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad explains how he spends his money as well as saves his money for their future. He's very happy to serve in the Army Air Corps. March 9, 1945. Dear Mary, I see you are giving me the works about saving money. Hun, you don't ever have to worry about that. After all, haven't I shown you results of it? I try to spend my money on you alone. Anything I have is yours as much as it is mine. I still send my mom $25 a month, and the rest is saved. I wanted to tell you everything a long time ago, but first I had to make sure where I stood in your heart. I had to tell you about my financial standing. At that time, I was telling you that we will do this together. You still think I have it rough, but really, the Army Air Corps is the best. Since I am a radio repairman and quite handy, it's a snap. By the way, I have accumulated 30 months overseas. Long time no see and baby, a long time no kiss either. Boo-hoo. Your lover boy, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, feeling lonely in the Philippines. Dad is speculating if the war had not begun, he and Mom could have married and begun their family with a little Junior. He tells her he sent the grass skirt to her today. March 11, 1945. Hello, hon. Yes, I can just see your sigh of relief when I catch up with you at the age of 27. I'm thinking if this war hadn't started, we could have been married for 2.5 years by now. Also, little Junior could be about 9 months old. It all looks and sounds good on paper, doesn't it? Oh well, we will make up for all this loneliness by being that much more in need of each other. I feel so lost without you and miss you so much. Don't worry, I'll pull through for you. I sent the grass skirt today, so be sure to practice that dance. Would you really do this for me? I know the answer already. We shall see what we shall see, am I right? Love you lots. Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines. Dad tries to spell his last name phonetically as Pesluzny. He keeps talking about a church wedding. Mom wants a big one. March 16, 1945. My darling, you want to know more about this marriage business. You sound like I'm an old-timer at marriages. I understand that gals you work with are having a hard time pronouncing my last name. It's easy. Say Pesluzny, and you have it. You sound like you have many friends. I guess we'll have to reserve Yankee Stadium. I certainly would never get married by proxy. There should be only one wedding in church and not any of those $20 jobs for us. After all, a wedding is something that happens once in a lifetime, so ours will be as beautiful as I can make it. I've thought so much of marriage and talked with married men. I have a good idea what it's all about and what it means. You're asking me when it can be arranged. It can't be soon enough for me, but we'll see when I get back. I know the look on your face will melt me away. You say I look like Earl Flynn, the movie star. My, what an imagination you have. Here we have everything we can get. If you don't have it, we can't get it. We have no idea what item will become scarce. I know this for I've worked with over 1,000 units. It was tough to acquire all the essentials to work with in order to complete the job. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad tells Mom about a USO show and how much he enjoyed the acting and the songs. March 18, 1945. Dearest Mary, I must tell you about this swell USO show I saw. It had 100 people in it. It was called This Is the Army. The cast was made up of all men, but it was wonderful. Irving Berlin sang a few of his songs. He sang White Christmas and Oh I Hate to Get Up in the Morning. There are only a few places that have a large enough stage to take care of this USO production, so many people traveled a lot of miles to see it. Darling, you know that sending me a picture of yourself is the best present you could give me, unless you came in person, so just keep them coming. Now about those women soldiers. I don't want any part of it. One of the fellows asked me if I wanted to go on a double date with him. I didn't go and don't expect to, for I'm saving myself all for you. Your faith in me is priority number one, and I have the same faith in you. I'll never do anything that could destroy our love. I'm yours completely, now and always. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines. He tells Mom to keep the letters coming. He is sending her a pair of Filipino slippers. He is able to see Sears and Roebuck catalog filled with household items. March 25, 1945. Dearest Mary, in a few days, I'm sending you a pair of Filipino slippers made from hemp. I hope I got the right size. I sure am looking forward to the end of the war soon. Did you get our hope chest yet? Were you able to get the type you wanted? I wish I was in the States so I could help you fill it to the top. One of the boys received a Sears and Roebuck catalog, so I spent some time looking at things we'll need for our home. I saw a set of twin beds. Don't get excited, as they would be for our twins, not us. Baby, I want you by my side. You ought to see the Filipino gals take showers out in the open. Now don't jump to conclusions. They wear their dresses and just pour water over their heads. I went to town recently, but I haven't been able to get there too often. Yes, hon, there are more pictures. I've sent all kinds, and I guess they were okay, for you never objected to any of them yet. All my love to you, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront serving in the Philippines, Dad takes advantage of the time he spent in the command headquarters office by writing to Mom and listening for any current war news. The news is it could be only a matter of days before Germany falls. He's dreaming about marriage and how they will find their dream home. March 28, 1945. Dear Mary, it is my turn in CQ, Command Headquarters office, so this gives me a very good chance to catch up on my letter writing. It is generally not too busy in here. I'm also paying close attention to war news. It looks like only a matter of days before Germany falls. That should affect this theater of war a lot with all the added help we will get. This place sure is dead. No excitement at all. Summer is just around the corner for you. It would be so nice to come home sometime in the middle of it. I'm hoping I can get a new car without waiting too long. My old one is no good and has seen better days. I guess there might not be many choices. We'll pick one out, and it will have to do for us. I keep dreaming of our home and everything we'll do together. It can't be soon enough for me. Waiting and hoping is rough, but as long as I have you, I can face anything. Without you, it would have been rough. I love you with all my heart now and always. Love, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad teases Mom about keeping the light on in her parlor for him to see when he returns. April 8, 1945. Hi, baby doll. How's my sweater girl these days? I can still picture you in that sweater with all your curves in the right places, hon. Do you think you can arrange to have that light on in the parlor for me? I promise to behave. You know, kid, I never met a girl that meant so much to me. I can only dream how it will be to have you make a fuss over me and kiss me for no reason. You do so much to me even if I didn't know it at the time we were last together. I wasn't sure I had the right to love you. Now that I have won your heart, I'll do everything I can to show you I'll take good care of you. I have so many tricks in mind to play on you, and you probably have plenty in store for me. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad receives a very sweet letter from Mom. He tells her to go out and have a little fun. April 12, 1945. Dearest Mary, I received your letter of March 25, 1945 today, and what a letter. You keep giving up movies and dances so you can write to me. That's very sweet of you, but I would like you to have a little fun. I will be overjoyed when you give up your last name in exchange for mine. I'll have to take a few more pictures of myself and send you my best copies. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad describes the reaction all the boys had when hearing about the passing of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He's hoping to be stationed near home when he returns to the States. He assures Mom he no longer wishes to remain a bachelor. April 14, 1945. Dear Mary, the toast you and the girls had on my birthday was very sweet. Darling, you are a brave girl and I love you. These are trying times and you've gone through them like a lady. You have no idea what you mean to me. I can imagine how you look doing that hula. I heard the bad news on the radio about Roosevelt who died on April 12, 1945. When we first heard this on the radio, we were eating breakfast. Everyone just stopped and you couldn't hear a pin drop. We all felt bad, and I'm sure it was the same with the civilians. I know you are a sensible girl, so I'm going to tell you something. I heard on the radio that a couple of million men in the States are slated for overseas service just as soon as men overseas are relieved. If I am hearing this information correctly, that means I will stay in the States when I get back. That would be great. Don't get excited, for even if I'm one of the luckiest guys in the Army, I can't hope too much for anything. It would be great if I got to stay at Fort Monmouth, which is only 4 miles from home, but there are no guarantees. I'm sure everything will turn out for the best. All my heart's love to my one and only, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom and Dad discussed the president's passing and how their friends reacted to the news. April 15, 1945. My darling sweetheart, I miss you so. Today was a beautiful day, and I sat on the front porch thinking of you and wondering what you would be doing at that moment. Gosh, honey, isn't it awful about our President Roosevelt passing away? You should see people here mourning for him. Manville is a democratic city. They especially liked him. I hope his death won't cause you to stay in that hellhole longer or continue this war. Missing you, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad says Mom asks some serious questions. He reminisced about the day they met and how he said, "Someday I'm going to marry you." He says their future is secure. April 15, 1945. Dear Mary, Mary, you do come out with serious questions. For instance, you asked me, would you really want this girl to be your wife? Why, you monkey, I only told you a few thousand times and in many ways. It's been a long time since I gave up being a bachelor. Don't you remember what I said to you when we met and after our first dance? I said someday I'm going to marry you. I'm going to marry you. I know you thought I was crazy at the time, especially since you were not thinking about marriage at all. There you go again telling me how nice I look in my pictures. You really must be in love to say that about me. I'll never forget the last big kiss I got before I said goodnight. I drove home a very happy boy. Sleepy, sure, but it was worth it. The only thing that worried me then was how I can give my Mary all she deserves when I'm almost broke. Time has solved everything for us. We have our love and our future is secure. We can settle down right away and start our baseball team. What an inspiration you are to me. Dry those tears from your eyes and read the last line on this letter. You will learn a great secret. I love you with all my heart and soul. I want you to share my life with me. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, keeping tabs on rotation in the Philippines. The war news keeps getting better each day, so the boys' morale is high. Dad's group gets a new big shot who they hope will work on the rotation policy. April 20, 1945. Dearest Mary, the news around here keeps getting better each day. There is a new big shot in charge of the rotation policy, so we are sweating him out. It can't be any worse, that's for sure. We've been getting quite a few replacements from the States. In fact, my replacement has arrived. I'm just 32 days closer to seeing you now, so it can't be too long. I can almost safely say I don't think I'll have to go overseas again. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines. He tells Mom the longer he is overseas, the better chance he has to stay in the States. April 24, 1945. Dear Mary, I received your letter of April 15, 1945 today. I was impressed with the speed in which this letter took through the mail. What a sweet letter. I still have a big grin on my face. Yes, the president's passing away was a big shock to us. I think we were affected more than the civilians at home. But it wouldn't have anything to do with my stay over here longer. After all, hon, you have to remember the longer I stay here, the less chance I will have of being sent overseas again. It's tough to stay away from a girl like you, but darling, all the breaks have come my way. It will be so much better to stay here 4 more months than to come home and have to go overseas again. Well, my darling, I'll keep answering your letters a bit each day. I still want to read your letters a few dozen times as it does my heart good. Love, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, traveling around the world and observing people has shown Dad he is the best girl. April 25, 1945. Dear Mary, you keep telling me that when I get home, I might not love you like I do now. That's impossible, for if I didn't, I would fall in love with you all over again. Do you realize it just took 2 dances and you had me? Don't you dare talk like that. Traveling a lot and seeing so much has made me a better man for you. After all, I know how the rest of the world lives. I know what it means to do without things you long to own. I know what it means to be lonely, homesick, lovesick, happy and sad. I saw what makes the world go round. I met all kinds of girls, some good and some bad. I had a lot of opportunities to do anything, and I do mean anything. Don't think I did, darling, for I have saved myself for you and our future. That means never doing anything that is not proper or frivolous. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad enjoys teasing Mom, giving her a taste of her own medicine. He explains the drinking water situation and the purity process to her. April 26, 1945. Dearest Mary, you don't know what you're in for when you say, just come home and fool around with me. You always say, we shall see what we shall see. I wonder how you'll like some of your own medicine. Ain't I a meanie? Woman, you made me this way. Our water well is for showers only. We get our drinking water from a trailer truck. It is a big central water well, and it is tasted every 2 hours for purity. If you only knew what I have done in my spare time, you would realize how little time I had to do anything except make money to prepare for our future. You wait and see. You will love me for it. I know how free girls are, and I want you to know you'll marry a clean, pure man. I don't mess around. I have willpower to handle any situation. Take good care of sweet you. All my heart and soul, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, he tells Mom he doesn't care about her age. It's not important when it comes to love. April 27, 1945. My sweet armful. You say you went to church and said a prayer for us. I have done the same thing. You keep telling me you're 4 months older than me. I don't care about our ages. I fell in love with you as a person, and knowing your age makes no difference to me. Whatever you have done before I met you would never change my love for you, so don't worry. I will try to answer your questions in a way that would make my remarks as cute as yours. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad is looking forward to hearing definite news of the end of the war. He asks Mom if her mother liked the special Mother's Day card he made for her. April 30, 1945. Dearest honey, the news in Germany sure is good, and it's only days before it's all over. When the war is finally over, it will take about 3 months before it affects our chances of getting home. You are so brave about all this. I'm glad you never get excited about this until we know what is definite. Waiting so long for me after only a few dates is amazing to me. Darling, you will never know what all this meant to me when I'm alone and so far away. Let me know how your mother likes the Mother's Day card I made especially for her. I couldn't find any in the store, so I made my own. Our life together will begin perhaps 4 or 5 years later, but we'll make up for it. I wish I met you long ago, as that's when we should have married. Stay as sweet as you are, and before you know it, a kiss will appear on those lips and you'll find yourself in my arms forever. Hoping and waiting has brought us close to each other. We realize we need one another to complete our lives. Lovingly, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, realizing 3 years service in the Philippines, Dan realized he has been in the Army for 3 years. He is proud to have fulfilled his obligation to his country. Rumors are floating around saying the war is almost over. May 1, 1945. Dearest Mary, do you realize that June 20, 1945 will be 3 years in the Army for me? That is a long time to be away from you, isn't it? However, I can always say I have fulfilled my service obligation. It's more than those strikers can say. They let us down. We won't forget it. There are plenty of rumors about the war floating around, but nothing is official. There will probably be 15 girls for 1 man at home after the war. I know I have my one and only, so that doesn't interest me in the least bit. Well, little girl with the beauty marks all over, I'll close for now. All my love to you, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad says the roughest part of the war was being away from Mom for such a long time. May 3, 1945. Dear Sweet Mary, now that the war is almost over, those so-called 4F big shots will join the Army and get stationed near their homes. I can picture them telling people how rough the war was on them. The roughest part was being away from you so long. I never want to do that again. Our 12 children will keep me out of the next war, heaven forbid. Just wait and see. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad likes the pictures Mom sent him, but says the tropical weather is no good for them. He tells her the war in Europe is 98% over. May 5, 1945. Dear Mary, I received your V letter dated April 12, 1945. In it, you told me about the pictures you sent me. I also got the picture of you as a bridesmaid. It has a small brown spot near your knee. Most all of the small letters you sent me are now either a little yellow or spotted. This tropical weather is no good for them. Luckily, your large pictures are just fine. I saw a very good picture last night called Bring on the Girls. There were plenty of curves and all that sort of stuff. It only made me miss you more. However, each day brings us closer to our day. The war in Europe is 98% over, so things should start coming this way. These Japs are all suicide types and will die over anything, so it wouldn't be a pushover. Our Air Force will take care of everything. Love you always, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines. Hearing that the war is officially over, at least on paper, is good news. However, there could still be many soldiers who will die even after the order to stop fighting is given. Dad is becoming hopeful he will be home in the States for Mom's next birthday. May 9, 1945. Dear Mary, with the war in Europe officially over, at least on paper, there could still be many soldiers who will die there even after the order to stop fighting is given. I guess a lot of people are celebrating. Even though it's good news for all, they should stop and think. What have I done to help out before they start? Over here, the news was received rather calm by most of the old-timers. We're all wondering how soon we'll get help And when will we be getting our chance to go home? I do hope it's soon. I am pretty certain I'll be home by the time your next birthday arrives. Darling, I want you to know I didn't celebrate even though some of the boys did. I've heard too much about this Filipino drink from fellows who had to take care of the guys affected by it. If ever I drink, it will be you and I together and on very special occasions. I'll be coming around one of these days. Yours always, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad remains optimistic about when he'll be able to go home on rotation. He says guys with kids get a break, even those who had kids, so they could stay away from the Army. May 13, 1945. Dearest Mary, I have no doubt you have heard the news about the point system of discharge from the Army. It's one of those things you can't always count on, so please don't get excited. I will have my 85 points in 3 months' time, and it could be at least 4 to 6 months before I go home on rotation. We will just have to wait and hope for the best. Fellows with kids get the break, even those who had kids only with the intention of trying to stay out of the Army. Just think if we had gotten married and had some kids, I would now have points to spare. Mail is awful now with very little being distributed. As soon as I have more information, I'll let you know. Start dreaming. It's not going to be long before our dreams come true. Your dreamboat, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad teases Mom by saying he is counting his 14 kids with his first 3 wives to gain points. He then says he expects to get 34 points for his overseas service. He has earned 3 Bronze Company stars as well. May 19, 1945. Dearest Mary, I don't know if you're wondering how many points I have accumulated. Well, not counting my 14 kids by my first 3 wives, exactly 81 points today. I get 34 points for being overseas. The 16 days of my furlough aren't counted in credit for being overseas, but are for time in the Army. The 20th of June, I'll start getting 5% more base pay. 5 points Paprian Campaign, 5 points New Guinea, 5 points Philippines. I have earned 3 Bronze Company stars which are worn on my Southwest Pacific ribbon. I also have a 4th star and another ribbon which is the liberation of the Philippines. Don't let 14 kids worry you. You'll take them all. Love, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines. All the guys keep hearing about the points one must accumulate in order to qualify for rotation and have a chance to go home. He thinks their time overseas is viewed the same as time spent living in a city in the States. May 23, 1945. Dear Mary, I keep hearing all day and half the night is points and more points. 12 points for a kid seems like a lot to a single guy, and he feels it's just as much as a married man's war as it is a single person's war. I received 80 points for overseas time, and of course, the States included the rest of the time in the service. My first sergeant got back after almost 7 months. We were so glad to see him. Hun, I can lay in my bed and stare at your pictures for hours. I shut my eyes and try to imagine it's really you in person. However, nothing can make me feel like I did when I had you in my arms. Well, little sweater girl of mine, take care of yourself and remember you fulfill all my dreams. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad is happy to get some beer to enjoy. He keeps hearing about big raids in Tokyo. He thinks everyone will have to wait for the end of the war before they will be able to go home. He says he has served in the Forgotten War, and his jungle time is considered the same as living in a city in the States. May 25, 1945. Dear Mary, well, we finally got a beer issue again. 6 bottles per person. This will definitely take care of my thirst. All those big raids on Tokyo are music to our ears. By the looks of things, the end of the war will be the only way to get home. It will be the same old excuse, no shipping space on board. However, the ships are going back with their holds full of water so that the propellers will be under enough water. I have seen this with my own eyes and I have heard from merchant seamen many times. They would rather fill their holds with water to keep it afloat instead of filling the ship with soldiers who are ready to go home. The more I think of it, the madder I get. We're still the Forgotten War, and jungle time is considered just like living in the city. Prior to the war, the blacks did the work in the jungle, and the boss sat under a shade tree with 2 natives fanning him. An inspector was here today to listen to any complaints. This is a regular routine. However, a chaplain could have done more good. Please don't worry if mail slows down for a week or so. Packages are not permitted to be sent home at the present time. Love, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Dad tells Mom how her letters and pictures have cheered him up and kept him company. May 27, 1945. Boy, we sure have been busy writing letters back and forth ever since we met. Your letters have kept me going, and I hope I've cheered you up by answering your letters and sending you poems and stories. Oh, honey, I sure enjoyed receiving the picture of you in your bathing suit. Woohoo, you sexy little devil. Lovingly yours, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, still in the Philippines. Dad feels low as he doesn't see evidence of anyone working hard to get boys overseas home. No one has been interviewed in order to determine points needed to accomplish this task. May 28, 1945. Dearest honey, how are you, hon? I'm still on the blue side, just from general principles. Only your letters keep me going. The European war hasn't done anything for us. The permanent party stays in the Southwest Pacific. It seems nobody is getting out of the way to get us home. However, Air Transport Command, who are our allies, does send men home in 18 months. The 13th Air Force, who are also our allies, send them home in 29 months or less. We service both units, but we are different. We have to wait and let the months collect and read about furloughs, strikes, and discharges. No one has found a single soldier in the Southwest Pacific who has been interviewed in the so-called survey to determine points. I want to get back home, for I feel I have done my share in a theater of war where things were done with very little supplies. When it got here, I saw maybe 5 airplanes at one time. I thought it was something at the time, but now I see 100 planes or more as a common occurrence. I'm not worried about you because I know I can depend on you. However, I can't help thinking about how long you've waited giving up your time for me. That's why I want to come home so I can show you I'm okay. I want to hold you in my arms, dry your tears, and mess with your hair. I can't wait to have you next to my heart on a dance floor. Love always, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad is noticing both the American Negroes and some white boys are entertaining the babes living in the area. Okinawa, Japan is the island where fighting is still going on. He is shocked to hear about public baths where men and women bathe out in the open. May 30, 1945. Dear Mary, my kid brother Walter is supposed to be on his way to the Pacific. He will be disappointed with the place. There isn't an appealing area around here. The average person here has a poor education. Those big raids in Tokyo are very good news. Our only hope of getting home without red tape is the end of the war. The American Negroes sure are going to town with these babes here. Of course, there is the usual amount of white boys who have to entertain a babe of any kind. They are also operating. That's not for me. This place is getting to be a peacetime camp with inspections. I guess the States are full of men from England with 18 or 24 months overseas time. Their time was probably spent mostly in cities over there and on furlough now in the States. I understand in Okinawa, the island where all the fighting is going on now, there are public baths where everyone goes. The men and the women go together to bathe out in the open. What a place. I keep hearing all kinds of proposals by senators. It seems they want to make it a single young man's war instead of everyone's war as it is and always has been. It's not our fault we're young and single. Oh well, at least I'm still alive. Tomorrow I will get mail for today. There was a lot of mail delivered today, but none for me. When there's a little mail, I seem to get a lot. Lately it always works out that way. Love always to you, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom finds out she has been helping the war effort by making ammunition and parts for B-29 airplanes used for fighting the Japs. She is amazed and proud. June 3, 1945. Hello, my darling. I want to tell you what occurred at work last week. Mr. Ward is a stock chaser and came into my department asking if I have the arms inspected as they were a rush job. I told him I was working on them and he said, "That's wonderful," and patted me on my back. It was then that he said, "You're doing a great job on them, and I'm glad you're working so hard on them because they're used for B-29 airplanes. You're doing a great job on them, And I'm glad you're working so hard on them because they are used for B-29 airplanes. I swallowed so hard as I quickly turned toward him, my eyes wide open in amazement, and said, "Honestly? Johnny, knowing you had something to do with the B-29s as you know how to fix them, I got a hot and cold chill through my body, and then a thrill at the thought of us being a half a world apart and still working side by side. I told Mr. Ward that my boyfriend works on the B-29s, and he said, 'See how wonderful it is to help him out?' Oh, Johnny, I couldn't get over that. I copied some information on that little long silver arm. It has parts on it that are called the shaft, spine, bearing seals, core, and commutator. Honey, this little armature is right inside the motor. There are many more armatures and rotors that I work on, but I don't know what they are used for in the war. Honey, no matter where I am or what I'm doing, you're always beside me. With all my love, Mary." On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines. The guys hear news about points. They're trying to remain optimistic the rotation may be in their favor. Dad says Jap radio propaganda has changed its tone. June 4, 1945. Dear Mary, now we are hearing more news about the points. I will have 86 points on July 12 if they start counting. It would be better if the 85 is lowered to 80. After 14 months of waiting for rotation, we start a new plan. Our plan. The Jap radio propaganda has changed its tone lately. There is no more of that "we are waiting for the right moment to strike a fatal blow" stuff. I keep looking for my brother Walter, but I haven't seen him. I've been wondering if you have anything in mind for your hope chest. Let me know if I would like to get that item for you. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad praises Mom for she is working on parts used by the Army Air Corps. June 17, 1945. Dear Mary, I received your letter in June 3, 1945 in which I told you how I felt about certain things. Please don't think I'm experiencing any discomfort. What makes me mad is the way the Pacific Theater is treated and how things keep changing. You would think we were a bunch of subjects for experiments. I'm glad you got the story about those empty ships. I am thrilled and proud you're working on something that is being used by the Air Force. Thanks again for all that information about your work. Hun, please don't worry. Your promise to wait for me no matter how long it takes makes me so happy. I hope I'm deserving for it. So long, my sweet one. Love and a whole lot of kisses, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad and his boys reach another location and are waiting for their turn to unload the boat. The landscape is not tropical, but the climate is sunny and dry. He jokes about having bad luck, so it might start to pour as soon as they start unloading. June 20, 1945. My dear darling, guess what, hon? Today I received your large picture and 3 studio ones. I was never so happy, and gosh, you look so beautiful. We finally reached another place. We're just waiting for our turn to unload. There is no more tropical landscape, and it's sunny and dry. With our luck, it will pour as soon as we start unloading. The climate here is cooler. There is a local radio station on this island, so we'll be able to hear the news again. If replacement troops were arriving like equipment, I'd be home a long time ago. The news on the radio says it looks like 85 points is another rotation. I will probably wear those pictures out just looking at them and sleeping with them under my pillow. I've quite a few letters to mail to you just as soon as I get the new APO number for this place. Well, my little sweater girl, I've run short of words for the time being. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront traveling in the Pacific Ocean, Dad and the boys are taking another boat trip to somewhere in the Philippines. June 23, 1945. Dearest Mary, I am still on the boat taking it easy. Someone fell overboard from one of the other boats, so we stopped and searched for him for 2 hours, but couldn't find him. They say he was a mental case. The weather hasn't been windy, so there haven't been too many cases of seasickness. This boat was one of the first boats to hit the beach in Normandy in France. It was damaged and sent to New York for repairs. I have met quite a few sailors who have traveled all over Europe. They consider Australia the best place by far for the people and the climate. All my love, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom cannot get over the fact that she and Dad have romanced by writing letters. June 30, 1945. Hello, honey. You should see me now. I'm sitting on the lawn on a rug with my little stationery suitcase near me. I keep your letters in the suitcase so they don't get lost. Hun, you make me so happy in your letters. You know, Johnny, it's your letters that made me fall in love with you, and if it wasn't for all the attention I'm getting from you, I'd never have told you I'm yours. Yes, you hunk of a dark meat man, you sure are going to get my love treatment when you get home. My love always, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, the boys peruse the civilians working around their camp. They are Japanese and they learn the custom of how the dead are buried and what ceremony takes place. July 8, 1945. I thought this place was going to be cool, but right now it sure is hot. We have seen no rain yet, and it seems to be 100 degrees in the shade. We are surrounded by mountains, valleys, and long needle pine trees as well. The civilians here are Japanese, and there are about 20 of them working around our army camp. The rest of the people are located in camps and must be restricted. There are burial vaults along the hillside containing bones of the dead. A body is placed in these for 3 years. Then the body is taken out and all the bones are washed in some kind of wine by the youngest girl in the family. They say it is an honor to be selected for this job. Most vaults have been opened, and you see big jars with fancy trimmings. There was one we could identify as a lady by her long hair. Our tents are set up now. I can safely say we have one of the coldest showers in the Pacific. The water is piped from the mountains and comes right next to our area. We have no electric lights yet, so I'm using a flashlight to write this letter. This climate, even when hot, is not jungle climate. There should be less jungle skin rashes for us. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, once again, Dad is busy making another wooden floor for a new tent. He saw an outdoor movie and met another friend from his hometown. July 10, 1945. Dearest Mary, what a day I had. I was busy as can be and finally got our tent higher off the ground and things arranged better. I feel much better now that everything is in pretty good shape and organized. I managed to see another outdoor movie called Without Love. Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn played the couple, and I enjoyed it very much. That same evening, I met a friend from my hometown. He lives next door to me back home. We talked about old times and had a great time. He was sent overseas 14 months ago, and he brought me up to date. Guess what he said? After not seeing me for over 37 months, he tells me I haven't changed a bit. My radio is playing and it sure feels good to hear it on again. Sometimes if the weather is hot, we get so tired so we go to bed early. Here is the latest news on getting furloughs to go home. You have to sign a paper saying you will come back and spend 1 year over here. They think of anything to discourage us from thinking about asking for a furlough. Perhaps the end of the war is in sight, so that must be the reason. At any rate, we sure are getting a raw deal. Oh well, it doesn't affect me anymore. I know I have the sweetest girl in the world waiting for me at home, so I am as happy as a clam. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, the guys treat themselves to an evening sale and did not return until 2:30 a.m. They found high prices in the stores, however, once they told the Filipinos about their service time spent overseas, they automatically cut the prices in half. July 13, 1945. Dear honey, I had a wonderful time last night. We were on the beach waiting for our boat, so we went swimming. There was a huge boat on the beach, so we took it for a sail. It was a Filipino fishing boat, so each side of the boat has an outrigger to keep it from turning over. We sailed all over the place, and I guess it was 2:30 a.m. when we got back. After that, we had to travel by truck, and we arrived at almost the same spot we landed on the first day. Prices were high, but when we told the Filipinos we had been here for 9 months, they automatically cut the prices in half. It's the same old story. Americans have money, so ask high prices, and they will pay them. This has been the case at any place I visited. I'll be glad to get off this island. Another Air Force is taking over the island. The Japs aren't around anymore, so we rule the sea in the Pacific. When I'm on my way home, I'll hit San Francisco to get plenty of malted milk and brush up on my dancing skills. I still haven't decided where and how I should meet you for the first time when I get home. No matter what happens, I know it will be a moment I will never forget. We left an area built with framework for tents, wooden floors, drainage ditches, bridges, a day room, and a mess hall. We had a water supply well and showers, and still the big shots weren't satisfied. They wouldn't accept the area because there were a few tin cans out in the weeds about 100 yards away from our immediate area. I'm glad we left before we had to put up their tents, tuck them in, and serve them breakfast in bed. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront learning customs in the Philippines, Dad is amused talking to the Filipino laundry gal. She says Filipino custom, no touch. He also points out some of the sights he observed in the shacks where the people live. July 15, 1945. Dear Mary, there is a funny phrase here. Filipino custom, no touch. This is what the gal say. When our laundry gal would come around, we would tease her. If we came too close to her, she would use this saying. Some of the fellows took a few babes out, but were discouraged when they had to take the whole family along. It's common to see an old shack with pigs living under the house. There's usually 10 people including kids on the first floor, and chickens on the roof and porch. There's nothing modern about this place. One girl is checking another girl's hair for fleas. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad is teasing Mom about what she should wear as a blouse with her grass skirt. He enjoys telling her how much she has affected his life. July 16, 1945. My darling, I see you are still having trouble thinking about what to wear with a grass skirt. How about settling for a big smile? Woo-hoo! I'll let you surprise me, so use anything you wish, sweetheart. I'll settle for a smile with a twinkle in your eyes anytime. You have no idea how you have affected my life. I've never been so happy knowing you are my very own. We have so much in common, and that means a lot in a happy marriage. Well, little woman of mine, you can see what the future will be when we are together. You better leave town before it's too late. You can leave me your address. All my love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Dad wants to know what sweet-smelling stuff Mom has been putting in her letters. He believes absence makes the heart fonder. July 17, 1945. Dear Mary, I received your letter of June 30, 1945. Woman, what is that sweet-smelling stuff you put in your letters? It smells very feminine. I know what the rest of the sweet stuff is because it's you in the letter. Yes, honey, absence makes the heart grow fonder. The saying is for us. You say the mosquitoes near your house are beginning to enjoy themselves. It might be the two-piece outfit you are wearing. I know if I were a mosquito, I'd be more interested in what's inside that outfit. Loads of love, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront noticing regulations in the Philippines, Dad is frustrated with the Army's practice of changing rules and regulations so often. He is sending his Japanese gun home so his older brother Stanley can grease it for him. July 17, 1945. Dearest Mary, you might be wondering why I haven't dated my letters or numbered them. Well, it's military regulations and might not last too long. The Army keeps changing rules and regulations all the time. Now I see it will be okay for me to send my Jap gun home. I'm taking my chances sending it while I can. I want my older brother Stanley to grease it up, because right now it's shellacked. I'll make a lampstand out of it for our home. I was going to send it to you, but it is heavy. I know Stanley will take good care of it. The mail is finally reaching us. The valleys around here are full of deep caves. I don't want to explore them, because there could be a booby trap inside. I'm hoping this will be my last move and the next should be coming home. An armful of love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Philippines, Mom and Dad are discussing wedding ceremonies. She is busy filling up her hope chest. If there is a shortage later, Dad wants to help her fill it up with necessities. July 19, 1945. Dear Sweet Mary, well, you asked for my opinion about wedding ceremony, so here it goes. My ideal wedding is a bride and groom in a church saying their vows. To me, that's the only real wedding. The rest of the arrangement I would leave up to the bride. I would, however, like a Polish wedding with all the trimmings. I hope we both agree on the subject. However it gets done, I know it will be the happiest occasion of our lives. You mentioned a while ago that you are busy filling the hope chest with things we will need. You also said there could be a real shortage later, so please, darling, let me help you fill it with the necessities. I want you to have everything your heart wants. I have all the faith in the world in you, so please tell me how much money I should send to you. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, still in the Philippines, Dad receives a letter from his folks describing the neighbors' raising of turkeys. The other neighbors don't approve, but Dad can't do much about this situation. He discusses their future home and how his handyman's kills will make it nice. July 21, 1945. Dearest Mary, it sure is hot and dry here. Yesterday it was so windy half of the tent blew over. We were lucky ours stayed up in some mysterious manner. My mom and pop tell me there is a city slicker using the home next door to raise turkeys. There are 1,000 of them, and the neighbors aren't angry. There is nothing I can do about the situation from overseas. I hope we get a nice place to live. I don't know where you want to live, but even if we get a small place, I can add a room or two, and I can put a lot of extras in myself to make it real cozy and nice. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Okinawa, Japan, Dad says everything is dead in this location. They got a new mess sergeant, so he's hoping for some changes in meals that are prepared. July 25, 1945. Dear Mary, it's very dead around here. Before we left the Philippines, our outfit got a new mess sergeant. It sure makes a difference to have someone who has interest in his work. We also have a new first sergeant, and he is a very nice guy. Here's a little dope about the Army. The staff is buck leaders of men. One day before the first sergeant was promoted, he wasn't a leader of men because he was only a T4. The moment his rank changed to first sergeant, he became a leader. You're a leader if you hold the rank. If you were drafted or joined any outfit with ratings, you still could not be a leader. In the Army, you don't have the rank even if you are the best leader in the world. A private is as good in a major of cases as a sergeant. He can probably do a better job of leading than those holding the rank. If 6 men are working on a detail, the highest is in charge unless the outfit is not GI. A private with 30 years experience might run a detail and have the ranks helping. I could go on about the Army, but other things are more interesting. That is how different the Army operates. We had a few raids since we landed, but none near us. They were shot down. It's no use teaching Japs how to land a plane. They make one trip up and down for a crash. I keep hearing about men coming home from Europe. I guess you know how I feel about this. Sooner or later I'll get back safely. That's the major thing, because it will be for good. Love always, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Okinawa, Japan, Mom receives a letter from Dad describing some of the work he has been doing. He is very hopeful the Japs will stop fighting, so it will lead to the end of World War II. July 26, 1945. Dear Mary, well, we finally got some mail with APO 331 on it. Of course, the APO now is 337. I'm hoping our mail should reach us. While I've been in the Army, I haven't done anything rough or hard yet. The hardest thing is being away from you, my sweet one. You say I scared you at times when you caught me looking at you. You made me that way so it serves you right. When I'm with you, I'm 100% heart and soul, so shouldn't I have my eyes on you? You'll be my wife as soon as I divorce Uncle Sam. My work is the most pleasant detail. I fix airborne and ground radio equipment. This includes receivers, transmitters, and the accessories. This work doesn't need strength but calls for common sense. The way Japanese radio broadcasts are talking, they don't want to fight anymore. I hope this will be the end soon. I must close, it's lights out in my tent. Love to you always, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Okinawa, Japan, Dad is looking forward to end of the war. He is so happy he sends Mom a poem. July 28, 1945. Dearest Mary, here is a poem for you. If we were sitting in the parlor just us two, and my big arms were encircling you, and you were sure nobody knew, would you? If the world was good and bright, and we stayed up half the night and I kept looking at you while all the time we knew our hearts were true, would you? If you closed your eyes to dream and promised not to scream when you opened your eyes and saw my gleam, and you knew all the time it wasn't for ice cream, would you? In this world there were but two, and we saw here at last is our chance for some real romance, and you found yourself in a trance, would you? If the cuckoo and the clock said woo-woo every time I said I love you, and the moon outside seemed to say, wouldn't I love to be you, would you? Wouldn't I love to be you, would you? My love always, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, now located somewhere near Ryukyu, Japan. Dad still feels the war was strictly for the Europeans because they got all the breaks and received newer supplies as well as help from their allies. August 4, 1945. Dear Mary, I am somewhere in Ryukyu, Japan, which is the southwest island. The point system looks like a stall tactic until the war is over. This war is strictly for the Europeans. They got the breaks and had the Allies helping them. We're still alone except for help from the British Navy and the Dutch. A couple of the boys in our company visited Manila on business. It's a wide open town in the Philippines. I might take a trip there if I get a chance. I have enclosed some bills that are US currency used on this island. We get paid with it. 10 yen is $1, 10 sen is 1 cent, 1 yen is 10 cents, 5 yen is 50 cents. It is as clear as mud. I got 1,418 yen, or $41,800, but we have to use it on their territory. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, somewhere in Ryukyu, Japan. Dad explains a little history about the atomic bomb. He's lucky to have a friend from his hometown nearby to come and hang out with him. August 6, 1945. My darling, you must have heard news about the new bomb for the United States. The first time the atomic bomb killed 200,000 people. The second time it was used in Nagasaki, Japan, and killed more people. All I keep hearing on the radio is information about the new bomb. Once again, I expect to be working on a wooden floor for our tent in the next few days. My friend from my hometown comes over to see me quite often. He and I were little angels in reverse at school. One of my old teachers saw me 10 years later and said, "My, that Johnny turned out to be a pretty nice guy after all." There were thousands of stars out last night, but it reminded me how much more I miss you by my side. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, still in Ryukyu, Japan. Dad thinks the war will end soon. He is excited as he tells Mom she'll be a June 1946 bride. He is busy keeping the planes flying. They require maintenance even though the war seems to be slowing down. August 9, 1945. Dear Mary, I'm pretty sure of the war's end soon now. You have no idea what this means to us over here. It should be over in about a month, and then all I have to do is wait. There will be a plan that we will hear about when and where they start sending men home. I hope they do it by points or overseas time. You will be a June 1946 bride for sure, maybe sooner. My mother will be happy to hear great news. I'm so glad she is well and will still be there when I get back. A lot of the boys weren't lucky and lost their parents. Love, your Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey. Mom and Dad find out the war is over, and they are delighted. It doesn't mean Dad will be coming home right away, only that he is no longer in any danger. Mom describes how the whole family celebrated the news. August 14, 1945. My darling Johnny. Hooray! The war is over! Please, darling, don't stay there too long now. Come home soon. Hurry! I'm still your girl, and I'm still waiting for you to come to me, Johnny. At 5 minutes after 7, we heard the news. Jeannie and I and the girl next door got into our little cotton dresses and went to church right away. My, you should see all the people crying there. All 3 of us lit a candle and prayed until the tears rolled down our cheeks. My darling, I can't wait until you come home so we can say a prayer in each other's arms and look into each other's eyes too. When we got home, Mother and Dad and our whole family were all dressed up ready to go out and celebrate this happy occasion. Frank, the neighbor from upstairs, was shooting from his shotgun, so what do you think? Yep, I even took a shot, one from the Dirty Jabs. One for the Dirty Jabs. The whole gang went out down the highway, and we blew the horn and sang happy songs. We went to a pretty nice place called Palt's Inn in Manville, New Jersey, and we had a nice time for about 2 hours. Then the cops came, and we had to leave, as they had to close the place. Jeannie and I took a tablecloth each to remember the place and time. Now here I am, hon. All curled up on the sofa in our living room, writing this letter to you. Jeannie and the children are asleep already. The people across the way from us are sure celebrating. Most everyone has been celebrating for 2 days. I still can't believe it. Even now it seems unbelievable. So much time has passed since we got into this war. The time I'll really be happy is when I'm in your arms. That will be heaven. My dreams, hopes, and prayers will come true then, and especially when I can hear you whisper to me, Mary, I love you. Please, my love, be careful now and remember I'm here waiting for you. With all my love, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Ryukyu, Japan, Dad thinks Mom might not have a job pretty soon as the war is nearly over. August 17, 1945. Dear lover, I've been very busy, so I finally got some things caught up around here. Even if the war is over, our company keeps busy because planes keep on flying. Anyway, you know with the future coming, it will mean more airplane travel than ever. You might be out of a job now because the war is nearly over. I think once the prisoners of war are dealt with, it should be my turn to come home. I should be in the first million to go. There are supposed to be 1.5 million in this theater. Love, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom informs Dad she has been laid off from her job. She did not expect this to happen this quickly. However, she is exploring the unemployment office choices. August 18, 1945. My darling Johnny, I've got a surprise for you. I am one of the 1,500 people who have been laid off from the Deals Manufacturing Company. I didn't expect this to happen suddenly, but it has. Today, I went to the unemployment office to collect some money I earned while working for 3 years and 4 months. You should have seen the crowd of people, and all from the same place. I don't mind it as much because the war is over. Nothing can be better than that. I do, however, hate the idea of being out of a job. I don't know exactly how much I will be able to get, but I think it's close to $20 a week for 26 weeks. Your loving, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Ryukyu, Japan, Dad assures Mom that the information she might have heard about air raids taking place over Okinawa, Japan, are not near his current location. He finds the campaign's TAR policy to be unfair. However, the good news is the Japs are ready to surrender to General MacArthur. He also heard Jap pilots talking to the radio tower in Junam Island. August 18, 1945. Dear Mary, let your hair down and relax. The wait can't be too long now. I see you got 2 handkerchiefs for your top, and you wore a smile with a grass skirt. I'm just looking at those lovely legs. Woohoo! Yes, that is some outfit, and I love what's in it very much. We only had a few raids since I landed here. The information you heard about planes raiding Okinawa, Japan does not mean it is in our area. None came close to us at any time, and the Okinawa Islands are large. When we were in the Philippines, we had about 2 months of raids, and all of them were close. We were very busy, for our company took care of the Philippine campaign by ourselves. We did this for almost 4 months, and then when things got slow, along came a lot of other companies to help out. I can safely say we took part in every campaign over there. The single star we earned was the Southern Campaign Star. Some fellows would bring radio sets in for me to fix. They would only drive it from the plane to my location, yet they got a campaign star because the plane took part in a similar campaign. I did all the work. I'll get by on the 81 points I have accumulated. Isn't there taming stuff you can use to tame me down so you'll be able to handle me? Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Ryukyu, Japan, Dad is not sympathetic toward infantrymen who are slated to be occupation troops in Japan. There are outfits and infantrymen who spent 5 times as long fighting here. August 19, 1945. My dearest Mary, I just heard that some infantry unit who fought in Europe is protesting because they fought 145 days in Europe and are slated to be occupation troops in Japan. Why, there are outfits of infantrymen here who spent 5 times as long fighting here. So yes, they should not complain. Today I saw a plane fly overhead that took the Japs to Manila to surrender to General MacArthur. I also heard the Jap pilots talking to the radio tower at the airstrip where they landed in Junam Island. It was not too far away by plane from us. He told me what type of home you have in mind, and by all means we will have a fireplace. I always wanted one. I feel happy now I can do everything I want to do for you. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, still in Ryukyu, Japan. Dad is quite upset when he tells Mom about the sad story of a guy who has a child who is gravely ill, but is not permitted to take emergency leave. On the positive side, it seems the war is over, and perhaps things will be happening more quickly. August 21, 1945. Dearest Mary, I must tell you about this. One of the fellows in my tent has 2 children, and his 4-year-old is gravely ill. The child has a short time to live. This guy has been overseas for 2 years. The doctor and his wife are trying to get him an emergency leave. So far he has seen only red tape, but there is still hope. I do hope he gets home in time. It's been 3 weeks now, and he hasn't heard a word. Well, little darling, don't worry about writing to me as the mail is bound to be slow both ways. You just practice your hula dance so I can get a good eyeful when I get home. Love, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey. Mom feels lost and sad now that she is unemployed. She roams around the house feeling more lonesome than ever. However, Dad tries to cheer her up with love letters. August 22, 1945. Hello, Snookums. Last night, I just couldn't sleep. I kept picturing our little home, but somehow I couldn't fit furniture in it. You know, darling, you are so sweet to listen to all my wishes and hopes. You try so hard to make all my dreams come true. Johnny, please don't fail me now. I've got my heart set on you. I feel more lonesome now that I'm unemployed, and I keep roaming around the house. I can picture you walking into our home without saying a word and staring at me. I guess you would say, hello, sweetheart. I'm almost afraid of that. I hope you'll let me know approximately when you might come home. I miss you and need you so very much. You really made me laugh when you said, you better enjoy single life, young lady, for your days are numbered now. That was such a cute sentence. Gosh, I hope you are safe and it won't be long until I get you in my arms. You're my everything, darling. Speaking of my engagement ring, I would love to help you pick it out at the jewelry store. I had tears in my eyes when you wrote, you'll be a June 1946 bride for sure. Now about the light in the living room? Honey, I didn't want to turn it off back then, but I have changed my mind. When you come home, would you please turn it off for me? My love always, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Ryukyu, Japan. Dad is excited because the war is over. It's a mystery as to when he will be able to come home to the States. August 24, 1945. My dearest one. Gosh, hon, things are happening quickly now that the war is over. My real happiness won't come until I get home. The war still continues on a small scale because a lot of Japs just don't want to give up. The estimate of when I'll be able to come home remains a mystery. There are 1.5 million troops with 85 points or more. The 5 million to be released should reach me eventually. Don't get excited yet as the end of the war caught everyone by surprise, so no arrangements were made in advance. The speed of homecoming will take time. Everyone thinks I should be home by the end of the year. I'm hoping it will be before your birthday. We started on our wooden floor and tent setup, even with the news on the radio telling us the end is near. It only took 3 days. Almost all the other tents did not go up for at least 1 to 2 weeks. 2 of us really worked the majority of the time, for the others are not so handy with the saw and hammer. People have started celebrating, but there is still some fighting as well as air raids continuing overseas. Don't worry, we will celebrate in style when I get home. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, still located in Ryukyu, Japan. Mom gets a letter from Dad describing information about the equipment Dad worked on during the war in radio repair and other departments. He is hoping as soon as the occupation of Japan by American forces begins, there will not be any trouble. August 25, 1945. Dear Mary, first of all, I want to tell you not to worry about Christmas this year, and don't bother to get anything for me. By October, all 85-point men will start on their way home. That puts me on the top of the list. Yes, things sure look good now. Even if there are boys going home long before their fair time, they were able to get around the point system set forth by Washington. If all the 85-point men leave for home in our outfit by October, it will leave only the section chief and me in radio repair. As soon as the occupation of Japan begins and no further trouble is encountered, the point system should be lowered. Even though the war is over, we are busier than before. It seems it takes a couple of months for other signal companies like ours to set up. We were able to set up in 7 days, and we were ready to operate. During 2 weeks of driving rain in the Philippines, it took 9 days and we didn't even get a letter of commendation. We were taking over 3/4 of the island by ourselves. Lots of love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront located somewhere in Japan. Dad is still located somewhere in Japan. He is finally able to tell Mom about all the equipment he fixed. He helped run a telephone switchboard and messages center, fixed electric motors for other outfits, and encrypted messages, which were then transferred into codes to keep them secret from the Japs. August 26, 1945. Dear Mary, you can see by the picture I sent you what a small group we had. Our work was to repair all radio equipment found on a plane. We also ran a telephone switchboard and message center. Telephone linemen had to set up and keep repaired the phone lines around here. We had to maintain teletype machine communication with headquarters. We ran our own motor pool where we fixed all our trucks. We fixed electric motors for other outfits, and the radio equipment we work on is used by a lot of planes from a small Cub plane to a B-29 bomber. Many planes have up to 12 different radio units in them. I worked in almost all of the units. Altogether, there are over 50 different types of radios. In my old outfit, I worked in the message center for 6 months. I encrypted messages and transferred them into codes in order to keep them secret from the Japs. That was the time I was busted after being assigned the task of running 80 shifts by myself. I just did not like the way the first sergeant ran the operation, so I told him what I thought about it. By the way, it turned out to be the best break I ever got. Hardly any of the fellows in my old company have campaign stars and are still located in Brisbane, Australia. I have a very good chance of becoming staff sergeant in the next 30 days, as long as no restrictions are made on men who have high points like me. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, still in Japan, Dad is very excited about a new point system, which he hears is granting all men who have 85 points or more a definite ride to the States. He is not talking on any extra work. However, he is grateful for all the knowledge he has gained in this man's army. August 27, 1945. Dearest Mary, last night the most exciting thing happened. A message on the radio told us that all 85-point men can pack their bags to be ready to leave in the morning. Yes, this means every single 85-point man will be put on the top of the list. As soon as the occupation of Japan starts and there is no more trouble, I should be on my way home by Christmas at the latest. Isn't this news wonderful, my darling? I have ended my extra work, so I'm taking it easy waiting for my turn. If I had not taken on extra work, I wouldn't be where I am today. Everybody envies me now instead of saying, "Why do you work so much?" I always tell them the time passed quicker and I learned more skills. The war lasted 45 months, and I spent 36 months of it overseas in New Guinea and Australia. It makes me so mad when guys brag and say, "I've been overseas for 52 months. I ask them where they were, and they say their time was spent in Hawaii for 3 years and 9 months. They try to tell you how rough it was, but Hawaii was American territory, and after Pearl Harbor occurred, they never had an air raid again. Well, little sweetheart of mine, I'll be seeing you soon. I'm overjoyed just thinking about it. Love always, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, celebrating a church service located in Japan. Dad finds out how Mom celebrated the end of the war and tells her how the guys had a special church service to thank God just like she had at home. He is estimating the time when he might arrive in the States. Then he receives word that the planes and ships are now tied up with the occupation of Japan. August 30, 1945. Dearest Mary, I received your letter of August 14, 1945, and I see you got the news of the end of the war at the same time I did. We are in agreement about it, and when I get home, we will have a real celebration. We had a special church service as well. I kept thinking all the time about us and how wonderful it was to have been taken care of by God. You don't have to worry now. You don't have to worry now, my sweet, because unless they change something, all men with 80 to 84 points will begin to come home. If the points are counted again, I'll have 92 points. No matter how it's done, I'll be one of the first on the list to go. I'll write the moment I receive my notice. I am estimating it should be during the next 4 to 6 weeks. Maybe I'll be there for your birthday in November. I really have nothing to do right now. Every night I get 1 quart of ice cream courtesy of my connections. This news about the end of the war feels like a dream to me all of a sudden. Honey, I have so much to tell you. If it is okay with you, don't bother to write very long letters to me, just short 1-page ones if you wish. I just might not receive any of your mail if my orders come soon. Take care of yourself, and when my telegram reaches you, it will be the best clue to say I have landed in the States. My love to you, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front, elevated to Staff Sergeant somewhere in Japan. Dad is proud to say he has been promoted to T3, or what is known as Staff Sergeant. His record for completing work orders is amazing, and he is very pleased with all the work he accomplished. The food is awful. He thinks they need to use up the bully beef. September 1, 1945. Dearest Mary, I'm just letting you know all the planes and ships are tied up at the present time with the occupation of Japan. This place is not dangerous and never was since I landed here. In the Philippines, it was a different story. However, the few raids we did have were so far away from our camp that it took a few days before we found out any information. Hun, I've finally been elevated to T3 or Staff Sergeant. I probably would have become Technical Sergeant if I stuck around longer. I now make about $118 a month. Of course, it will be for a short time. I had been number 3 man in radio repair for a long time, but I finally got my break when the opening was created. I turned over 3,000 work orders, which kept a lot of planes flying in good shape. I had some fun the other day with signal supply. I told them I would fix 5 radios in the shortest possible time. I finished them in 1.5 hours. In an average day during a week, I fix about 3 sets a day if I don't run into any complications. I had a lot of fun saying next and asking for parts. It takes some knowledge about the weakness each set contains, plus a good amount of experience. You ought to see some of the junk that was sold to the government. Love and many kisses, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front somewhere in Japan, Dad is not sure how or when he might be able to come home. He hates eating bully beef, but is thankful that the PX store has plenty of tasty canned goods. September 3, 1945. My dearest darling, I don't know how or when I will be coming home, and time seems to be going slow. And I know it won't improve for a long time. I guess all the bully beef has to be used up over here. Luckily, we have a lot of canned goods and crackers in our PX store, so I won't starve. As usual, the married men get the breaks in this war. All of a sudden, it is a single man's war. Don't mind me, hon. I'm not as unhappy as I sound. I know I didn't get malaria, for I feel healthy. I stopped taking the prevention pills about 6 months ago, but I have been fine, just a little bit bored. I'm getting more sleep and resting up now, so I'll have more energy to keep up with you. With love always, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front still in Japan, finally, the Army has lifted censorship of letters now that the war has ended. Dad tells Mom he will soon be sailing to Keijo, Korea. He thinks they will be stopping in Manila and possibly the Philippine Islands on the way home to the States. September 5, 1945. Dearest Mary, well, hun, all censorship has been lifted, so now I suppose you expect to hear me complain a lot. I really don't have many complaints. I must tell you I will sail to Korea in the next few days. I will be stationed near a city called Kinjo. It has a population of 700,000 people. It's really a waste of time because I will only have to come back to Okinawa, Japan, when my order for home comes through. I probably will stop in Manila and the Philippine Islands on the way home. Okinawa was a snap. We landed 3 months after the first wave of air raids. We just had a handful of raids that were not close. We landed at Leyte in the Philippines 19 days later. It was 2.5 months that there were air raids both day and night. There was plenty of anti-aircraft fire shots at the Japs, and we saw a lot of planes shot down. The Jap paratroopers landed in Leyte, but 10 miles away, and raised hell for a while but were soon silenced. So here is how it went. After I landed in Brisbane, Australia, I went to Western Australia, then to Buna, New Guinea. Following that, I went to Nemours, which is an island in the Dutch East Indies. It is the small island off northern New Guinea. Finally, I went on to Leyte in the Philippines, and then to Okinawa, Japan, and then to Okinawa, Japan. I always hoped you would try to guess where I was, but I could not tell you because of military restrictions. All my love, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom lays down the law about how she feels when dealing with men. Dad takes her letter in stride and tells her not to worry as he feels like a boy instead of a man. September 6, 1945. My loving sweetheart, Staff Sergeant John Pazlusny, congratulations, honey. I can't stop writing to you as you told me in your last letter. I wouldn't feel right. I'm still your loving sweetheart and I miss you more each day. Please take care of yourself. I must tell you how excited I felt when I opened your letter and found many kisses on the bottom. All for me. You are so sweet and make me so happy. Please, Johnny, don't ever change. As long as you stay as sweet as you are, you will always have me at my heart. Actually, I hate men and can easily learn to hate you if you turn out to be as mean, vulgar, and inhuman as some men are. Many men don't understand their women. They only know when they want something, yet don't understand a girl's wishes. I hate men that think a woman should do as he says, or commands because he thinks he's the boss. I hate men who don't love or cherish their woman, especially if she belongs only to him. Some men think a woman is some sort of gadget that they can use or discard whenever they feel like it. Also, a man who chose his sweetheart for his very own and asks her to marry him along with his own desires. This kind of man promises her everything under the sun, and then leaves her night after night hanging out with his gang just tramping around town. He really has nothing to do or no place to go, but he still escapes from his wife and sneaks out alone. I hate and despise men of that sort. Yes, I've seen and met them and they scare me. They seem so wonderful when they are single and change completely after they are married. I just thought I would let you know how I feel when it comes to a man and a woman's relationship. Please, Johnny, don't ever change as I love you just the way you are, a loving sweet man. Your sweet Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront moving to Korea, Dad noticed Korea is not like Japan. It was a war-free country of its own before the Japs took it over. He and his crew observe Okinawa and clear up any evidence of war before they move on to Buckner Bay, where they are waiting for the convoy to move to Korea. September 6, 1945. Dearest Mary, gosh, darling, I was so happy to get another letter before I left for Korea. Korea isn't really like Japan. It was taken over just like so many other places. It was a war-free country of its own before the Japs took over. Our company is small, only about 100 men, so you get to know everyone very quickly. Boy, Okinawa sure is a busy place. The highways are full of all kinds of trucks and jeeps. Why, it seems almost as busy as the highways in New Jersey. I'm very glad the war is over in many ways. A lot of the material that was sent over here is useless. It was made for Europe, and we just couldn't use the same material over here at all. We took care of Okinawa, Japan, except for one strip of land by Naha. This place has a lot of airplanes. I missed out on a campaign star for this island by 1 day. 3 months of really hard work and I got no points for it. That's the army for you. We now travel by LST, otherwise known as Landing Ship Tank. This is a large boat that can sail right up onto a beach. The whole front of it opens up and you ride off in a jeep, tank, or truck. Infantry troops land this way on new beach huts. Hun, I'm very anxious for the day when we can see each other and be able to look at houses together. Of course, a lot of changes will be made. After all, it has to be the way we want it so we can really call it our dream home. I'm so glad you are comfortable with me and hope you will always act naturally. You are sweet just being human. That's one of the billion reasons I love you so much. Your sweetheart, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, still moving to Korea, Dad gathers all the letters he can hold to take with him to his new location. September 7, 1945. Hello, honey. How's my little armful of love today? I sent all your letters back to you. They are without envelopes because I didn't have enough room to carry them around so long. A few of them got mixed up when we moved, and the rats ate a few, but I still have 95% of them. Please keep them safe, for they are my prized possessions and so dear to me. I sent 3 packages home. 2 are for you and 1 to my folks. The letters are in 1 package. All my pictures except a few I kept are in package number 2. The 3rd package contained my gun. I finally sent it home now, for it should be safe. You will see that some of your pictures have spots on them from the tropical weather. I kept a picture of you standing in Dukes Park, New Jersey, wearing that sweater. Read the book the 59th Service Group put out on VJ Day. The book explains the victory in Japan and the end of World War II. There is a 1024 section in it. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Buckner Bay near Okinawa, Japan, Dad's outfit waits for a convoy to take them to Korea. He says General MacArthur will give a speech for people in the States where he'll say your boys are on their way home. September 9, 1945. Dearest Mary, I'm out in Buckner Bay, Okinawa, waiting for the convoy to start going to Korea. I was stationed on the Yutong Strip, which is an airstrip between the 2 of them. The other was Gardenia, 15 miles north of Naha. Naha is the capital city of Okinawa, Japan. After General MacArthur gives his big speech, I'll be on my way to Korea. This is what he said. Your boys are on their way home, so take good care of them. It's how heroes are made in the eyes of those who don't know the whole story. Every speech given by a big shot is broadcasted so notes can be taken by the bunch back home. I have 2 bags packed. One is all the things I have to take home with me, and the other bag I must turn in before I leave. My friend whose daughter did die never got a yes or a no for his emergency leave. Many officers were good-for-nothing bums as civilians and don't have the slightest idea what hard work is on any day. The most they did was censor a few letters. They tried to be bosses over jobs they never saw or did in their lives and had nerves to act like experts. Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the way to Korea. On the way to Korea. Dad is on a boat in the China Sea waiting to sail to Korea. He hates traveling by boat and the sea is rocking. The men are burning mad at big shots for delaying their return. September 11, 1945. Dearest Mary, Hun, I'm out in the China Sea on my way to Korea. It is a small convoy compared to the old days. I sure hope I get a chance to fly home because I hate traveling by boat in the sea. This trip will take at least 4 days. The food isn't bad at all. The only duty I have is sergeant of the guard. I have 16 men on guard at different hours. Our radio department had 26 men in it, and I was 3rd in charge for a long time. Boy, is this tub rocking now. I'm hoping to be home in time for your birthday so I can buy you something nice. Hun, you are my whole life and soul. All this time over here was a snap, for I knew I had my sweet Mary back home waiting for me. When things looked bad, along came a sweet letter from you. These always made me happy, and I'd be good for another couple of weeks. I'm telling you, the boys sure are burning mad at the big shots over here. All we get is a lot of talk and no action. There's not been one occasion when a general here spoke up and said anything to us. Yes, they say a lot of phony words to the people back home. People in the States think these men are heroes, so they get away with it. This place may be home to General MacArthur, but it is not home to us. There's not been a single crackpot in Washington, D.C. that has ever proposed any steps to help us. I guess I sound pretty low, Hun. Don't let it get you down. This is a normal feeling among us all over here. I just wanted you to know this core so you can shoot down people who are complaining and have no reason. All my love, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom describes her feelings being the oldest at home and still single. She's not happy about this, However, she displays her strong love and devotion to her family. September 12, 1945. Dearest Johnny, Honey, I'm glad the war is over. I have been busy with the troubles at home. I am the oldest one at home and still single. I feel like an old married woman with a large family and a home to care for, but I have no husband. Honestly, sometimes I feel I just can't take it anymore. I become overwhelmed and can't do anything. I realize there's no one else to do the work and worry about everyone, so I just go ahead and take care of it. It's a wonder I feel and look half as well as I do now. My love always, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the China Sea moving to Korea. Dad and the boys have reached the harbor on the coast of Korea. The harbor is full of American boats, and the climate is delightfully cool. September 15, 1945. My sweet one. We finally reached the harbor on the coast of Korea. We have to drive inland about 30 miles before we get to the capital city of Kinjo. The climate here is cool and wonderful. The harbor is full of American boats. There shouldn't be much trouble getting a ride home from here. There is a large boat on the top deck of our LST, which is our landing ship tank. They slide into the water by tipping our boat a little on its side. The chains will be removed, and it will slide on greased skids into the water. I am seeing my share of big buildings and factories. I also saw a few Navy hospital ships. This place has its mountains and valleys. To the west is China. To the east is the mainland of Japan. Still north is Russia. I met a guy from Red Bank, New Jersey, and we had a good time talking. There are many small boats in the harbor with Koreans in them. They look like Filipinos. Tomorrow morning we should start unloading, and it will probably be 3 days of hard work. Love always, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the harbor of Korea. Dad and the boys are on the boat docked in the harbor, waiting to unload and set foot on land in Korea. He's happy he didn't get seasick. He wants Mom to get an engagement ring, so all he has to do is pop the question. September 16, 1945. Dear sweet Mary, I'm still in the harbor waiting to unload. We might get to shore this afternoon. This place gets chilly at night. I hate sitting here waiting offshore. On land, at least you can stretch your feet. I must be used to these trips where I didn't get seasick. We had a young priest on board, so we had Catholic Mass every day, except when the sea was too rough. I see the strikes are happening in the States. It looks like they don't care how long it takes for the country to get back to normal again. Keep your eyes open when you go shopping for all the things you want. Remember to pick out your engagement ring. Mary, it's up to you to pick it out, so I have the easy part for myself. I'll just pick you up and swing you around like a top. While your head is spinning, we'll become engaged. Love, your Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom and Dad are proud of themselves for sticking by each other, and they feel confident in their love. Mom says if we are truly meant for each other, it will happen. September 17, 1945. Hello, honey. I'm so glad to hear that everyone is envious of you because you worked so hard and saved all your money. I can't wait until you come home so all our plans can work out together. When I think of you being in such a dangerous place, I am so proud of you. I think we can prove to everyone how hard work, saving, true love and devotion has worked for us, even though we have waited so long to get together. I don't care how much money you have saved. I want to love you with all my heart and soul, just because you are John Puzzleusny, not for what you have or what you have done. If we are truly meant for each other, we will never keep secrets from one another. My sister just walked in with 2 letters from you, dated September 5 and 9, 1945. The letter from September 9, 1945 had no APO address because you were in Buckner Bay waiting for the convoy to take you to Korea. You left me in the summer, but I guess you will return in the winter, and I can't wait to finally see you in person. Hun, I'm all yours. I'm so sorry about your friend who lost his daughter and couldn't get home to his wife. I hated this war and everything about it. I've seen more dirty tricks and cheating these past 3 years than ever before. I'm so glad you decided to give me an idea of when you might be coming home. What is this you say I should rest up now? Do you expect to run me ragged when you come home? Maybe I'd like running ragged with you. In fact, it sounds like fun. I'll settle for that as long as you don't make me wait too long to see you. Honey, you say you've got plenty of good news and interesting things to tell me. I want to hear everything no matter how long it takes. Our love affair will change into a wedding and honeymoon. Your darling, Mary. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in the Pacific Ocean, Dad is looking forward to coming home to the States. He says the Japs are now behaving like angels. The Koreans are doing all the work for the Americans. He says there are so many kids around the place, his guess is all they do is eat, sleep, and raise kids. September 18, 1945. Dear Mary, guess what? We've finally received our order to get ready to leave for home. The next week or two, I should be moving slowly toward the States. It's been a long wait, darling, and you showed me what you really meant to me even while we were apart. Don't get too excited yet. Remember, I have 8,000 miles to travel. A boat averages about 200 miles a day, unless it is a very fast one. I think I'll definitely be there for your birthday. I'm cutting this short for I have a lot to do before we land on shore. At present, there is no word about moving toward home. The Japs are behaving like angels. The Koreans do all the work for us. There are so many kids here, more than any place I have ever been. I guess all they do here is eat, sleep, and raise kids. The funny thing is the kids all stare at you as if you were Frank Sinatra. Oceans of Love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront moving around in Korea, Dad and the guys are moved into a big building, and it is filled with all kinds of bugs, rockroaches, and bedbugs. He describes the room lined with sand on a wooden floor, and outside each room is a trapdoor in the floor. He is having trouble understanding the fashions worn by the people. September 22, 1945. Dear Mary, we moved into a big building that has 500 rooms, storerooms, lots of closets, and it includes a big stage. There is also a large room 3 times bigger than the Polish-American home in New Jersey. This building is filled with all kinds of bugs, rockroaches, and bedbugs. Apparently they sprayed inside the building, but the bugs still appear. It seems bugs aren't objectionable to people over here. I am not kidding when I say most of them live like pigs. The floors in the rooms are lined with sand on a wooden floor and then covered with paper. Outside each room is a little trapdoor in the wooden floor. The Japs have a custom in which they take their shoes off and walk inside barefoot. The women here wear some crazy combinations of clothes. I can't tell whether a babe is wearing bloomers or some sort of dress. I'm telling you, 10 American soldiers can't disarm 1,000 Japs, and the Jap officers will line up their men. The Japs stand at attention while American soldiers go through their bags taking away any form of weapon. That's how easy it is now. Things are screwed up here. No one knows why we're here or what we are supposed to do. Officers are taking over big, beautiful Japanese officers' homes. We get 200 bottles of beer to share while officers get 4,000 bottles. Then they take a jeep and go sightseeing. We outnumber the officers, yet we are the ones expected to work on planes and landing strips. It is officers' paradise here, and enlisted men don't count. You will always count with me, and I want you to know you can always count on me. More love to come, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Korea, Dad joked with a guy about the food served. He says this Navy guy was complaining, so Dad told him he should have seen what the Army gave them for dinner in the past. September 20, 1945. My dearest, it's getting dark, but I decided to write another letter to my sweet one. We had meatloaf and fresh bread with pie for dessert. One Navy guy was complaining about the food. I told him if he ate what we used to eat most of the time, they would bury half the Navy. According to our standards, this was great food. One would think it was another country the way the Navy guys complained. The Seabees were non-military personnel who functioned as engineers, also complained. Why, it's just like home, if not better, to most of our guys. The Army serves junk. The better the cooks, the better the junk tastes to us. The hospitals serve the same food we eat. We had a desk lawyer who was an officer try to tell a 40-year-old private how to build a building. The private had 25 years of experience in carpentry work. The officer didn't know how to drive a nail straight. He was an officer, so he tried to make people believe he knew everything. The truth is, he knew nothing. This is why wars take so long and why 95% of the men hate the army and how it is run. If I had 99 years experience in one type of work and was a private, I would have some sergeant with no experience try to boss me around. That's the army for you. Days usually go by so fast. However, since the point system was dropped to 80 points, it just crawls day to day. Oh well, it's not such a long wait now. It only seems like it. I'm in the yellow scene now. It is not quite as rough as before. Love with all my heart, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Kinjo, Korea, Dad is not impressed with the city of Kinjo, Korea. He tells Mom it is basically a slum, and he thinks all places in the Orient are in the same condition. September 23, 1945. My dearest Mary, I visited the city of Kinjo, Korea. What a mess! There are lots of people and everyone is buying or selling something. The place is basically a slum. In fact, the whole Orient is that way. The buildings are very big, but in front of them are little old broken down stores. It is hard to buy anything because most of these people do not speak any English. Maybe a handful of the 900,000 people speak or understand English. There are Japs and Koreans, and they look alike to me. As soon as a Jap appears, a bunch of Korean kids run to you and say Jap. I guess they expected us to shoot them on sight. When you stop to buy something, before you realize it, there are about 100 people watching you bargain. If the price remains too high, we just walk away and people watching shout a cheer. We sure are lucky in a way, for our small company was the first in the 59th Service Group to get here. The rest of the groups are in Okinawa. There are over 1,000 men in a service group, and we had the pick of the souvenirs. I have some 2 Jap guns, 2 dress swords, and 1 large battle saber. This is the kind that usually sells for $200. I also got a harakiri knife and flags. I have had plenty of sake. That's Jap wine with a little kick. I know this to be true, for I got a little woozy from it. The best part is, it costs $300 for a 2-quart bottle, and you get no hangovers from it. Well, darling, I'm sorry to say this, but there's still no word as to when I will be able to head home. Missing you and loving you, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, waiting for orders in Korea. The guys in Dad's group are running out of patience while they wait for the big shots to issue orders to pack their bags and get ready to return to the States. The Jap soldiers salute the American guys, and the Jap kids like to hang on to them. There seems to be a lot of looting and stealing from this tours by civilians in Korea. September 26, 1945. Dearest honey, yes, I'm still waiting for orders. Other outfits got their orders already. You ought to see the women walking around here. It is quite a sight because they strap their chest down. Apparently, you are considered good-looking if you have a flat chest. The married women wear their hair in a bun behind their heads. When they are nursing babies, they wear a shirt that's open and their milk bottles stick right out. It seems the women are supposed to raise lots of children and do 95% of the work. If I am standing around when the Jap women walk by, they take a bow altogether. The Jap soldiers salute us, and the kids like to hang all over us. The place I'm living in was a large factory. Actually, it was a cotton mill and cotton material factory. It's bigger than a factory in Manville, New Jersey, or even New Brunswick, New Jersey. Korea is intact because it was never bombed. There is plenty of looting and stealing things from the stores by civilians. Most of the boys get drunk and pay nothing, for the Koreans treat them like kings. There are also nightclubs where a guy can get a girl to stay with him and pour his drinks. They're always dressed neatly and hired because of their good looks. Of course, some of the honky-tonk joints are full of wild babes, and they don't care what the boys do to them. That's not for me. I'm yours, and I'll never do anything to hurt our love for each other. The thing about Oriental countries is that you could catch several diseases, so one should be very careful. The occupation of countries sure is a mess. It will take a long time for the factories to be reopened, and people are off the streets. All the large factories and buildings were run by Japs, so it's hard to say who owns them now. All my love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, officers are getting drunk or sightseeing in Korea. Dad cannot understand why the officers are carousing around Korea yet not working hard to get the men home. The guys have to go to a private factory to get beer, while the officers drive off with truckloads of beer for themselves. Dad's biggest guess about when he might return to the States is probably by Christmas. September 27, 1945. Dearest Mary, the officers are just getting drunk and sightseeing instead of trying to get our orders. They have 700,000 Koreans and 1,000 Japs doing work, but they still want us to make them comfortable. They have lots of Jap or Korean houseboys, maids, and cooks. The big shot Jap owns the 5-mile square factory here. He is still living in a castle while we have to live in a building full of bedbugs. I have so much powder on my bed that it looks as white as snow. We really told off one of our lieutenants today. Tomorrow we meet the company officers and get things straight. We want to know why they can get a Jeep anytime they want and visit the city every day. Meanwhile, we get no Jeep and only one pass every 7 days after 37 months overseas. We go to a private factory to buy beer. The officers try to stop us from buying beer while they ride away with truckloads for themselves. It seems no one cares how long we stay over here. My best guess is I'll definitely be home by Christmas. I sent home silk materials to you so you can make anything you want out of them. I also have 2 Japanese kimonos that I will give you in person. We have not received a single letter for a month now. We are the lost company, all right, and it's everyone for himself. Here is one guy who doesn't stand short. I did my share of work a long time ago. Well, darling, I sure hope someone does something to get us home. Your loving man, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Korea, Dad says he understands arrangements are finally underway to help the guys get home. Since the war has ended, Mom has been laid off from her job. On the better side of things, Dad is happy they have their own personal supply of ice cream. October 1, 1945. My dearest one, after flying all the officers up to Korea for sightseeing, we're getting a few headquarter men here. All the 80-point men in the 59th Service Group left for the States from Okinawa 4 days ago. I understand arrangements are being made to get us home. I'm sure I'll get a definite answer sometime this week. We have our own personal supply of ice cream, and so far the officers haven't chiseled in, but give them time. There are a few Negro troops in town. One of the guys saw a barmaid try to rub off the black on the Negro skin. We have the whole room, which is 14 square feet, lined with beer bottles. We have to buy our own because officers take too long to get it for us. Gosh, hon, it must be rough on you to hear all the stories about the plans to discharge soldiers, and yet those of us who are overseas are waiting here. It's too bad you are now out of a job. I know you have a lot of work to do at home, but I'm sure you're thinking about all this. Well, darling, our dreams are getting closer day by day now. Lots of love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Korea, Dad is counting points toward going home and paying attention to any news of departing. October 3, 1945. My dearest honey, I'm still in Korea with 89 points. In Okinawa, outfits in the 59th Service Group are sending men home with 60 points, which is 29 points less than us here. I never saw such injustice like this. Don't worry about me, hon. I'm very disappointed, but I don't get sloppy drunk. I do come close once in a while. The Army Air Corps here in Korea is only guarding the beer for officers and cleaning the place. I wrote to the Inspector General about the situation, but it might not do any good at all. Everything on the radio is baloney. The Land Army is fighting the Air Corps. We think this is the reason we aren't getting out of here sooner. I don't know how we will be processed. There are going to be a lot of bitter men after the war. The lesson would be because the Army is so unfair to us, yet they try to tell the people back home how well they treat us. Love, your Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, waiting to go home still in Korea. Dad can't wait to see Mom, so he says his job now is to answer her letters. He gets a serious letter from her, telling him how men in general and husbands treat their sweethearts and wives. He explains to Mom that he's just a soldier boy who was devoted to his one and only. Dad is shocked to hear he was praised by one of the superior officers. October 9, 1945. Dear Mary, My job is now to answer your letters. You sure have your hands full of troubles being the oldest girl in the family. One of these days, I'll be your main trouble. The only trouble I could possibly give you is more love and devotion. I'm sure you wouldn't mind that kind of trouble. So, you hate men, eh, kid? It's a good thing I'm a boy. You sure wind up and tell me how mean some men get after marriage. Well, hun, I know just how you feel. I always feel I love you than you could dream possible, so you don't have to worry about me changing. I never hung out with gangs, even if I did know and get along with them. My idea of life is all the little things put together. I like to feel I need no one's shoulders to help me out, except you, of course. Even while I have been in the army, I never depended on anyone else to do or get me anything. Here's what our commanding officer said to a bunch of boys who submitted their names for officers' training. You boys will have to remember some things. In order to be an officer, you have to do more than your regular job well. You have to be able to go out and do things on your own and not depend on others to help you. Take John Posluszny. He may not be officer material, but that's one guy who goes out and does things for himself without depending on others. He has the ambition and initiative to be successful. How about that? The boys told me this after they came back, and I was really surprised. At least one officer recognized my hard work. Don't worry, I'm saving my heart and soul for you only. My appetite sure is doing well. The climate here is so much better and I feel wonderful. I hope I look the same. Love always, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront in Korea, Dad is trying to help Mom locate Korea. He is hoping his records will be given a final check so he can finally expect to be going home. October 14, 1945. Dear Mary, I am as happy as a lark because I got my first letters in over a month. I got 4 V letters and 1 large letter. I see you don't know where Korea is located. Well, it's actually Chasten, but before the Japs took it over 25 years ago, it was called Korea. We are about 100 miles north of Okinawa. On the west is China, and on our east is Tokyo, Japan. About 60 miles north of Siberia, Russia. I hope this will tell you more about where I am in the present time. Tomorrow our records will be checked. This is usually the last thing done before you go on a boat headed for the States. The latest rumor says it will happen about October 20. I am lucky to get away from Okinawa because 3 very dangerous hurricanes hit the island. It wrecked 95% of the buildings, killed a lot of guys and destroyed over 500 airplanes. Phew, that was close. We left 2 days before it hit. I'm glad in a way that I saw Korea. I know how the Orient lives. It sure is a mess. The women are treated roughly. They do most of the work and strap everything down. This is common throughout the Orient. I saw a Korean stage show with Korean players in an American-run theater. The little kids aged 2 and up all say hello to us, and when we answer, they feel so proud. They all know how to ask for chocolate and gum. Sometimes dozens of kids grab you, and it's hard to get away from them. Most places are off limits until inspected. Our $1 bill is worth 15 yen here. The Koreans consider a $1 bill like a quarter, and boy do they throw them around like water. All my love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, still in Korea. Dad has been through processing and is given an approximate time to return to the States. He states he is due to leave Korea on or about October 20, 1945. Unfortunately, he will miss another one of Mom's birthdays, but is elated about landing in San Francisco. October 15, 1945. Dearest Mary, well, I went through the processing line today. I still have 89 points, and everything is all set for the boat ride to the States. Our service records state that we are due to leave on or about October 20, 1945. Of course, this is uncertain as the Army gives out the information. This time, I'm sure it's the real thing. After I get on the boat, it will be 15 days or so before I reach San Francisco, California. I will send you a telegram just as soon as I arrive. I am on detached service to the 1024 Signal Company now. My old gang is leaving. The fellow in my room whose daughter died finally got his emergency leave 3 months late. He left for Okinawa this morning, and I think he will probably be stuck there for a while. I might make it home before him now. They tried to take points away from some of the 38-month overseas men, but it didn't pan out. We got our American beer issued today along with Coca-Cola. Well, little darling, things are starting to look better day by day. You better eat those Wheaties, for you will need extra energy to keep up with me. Joyously in love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Front, hearing a rumor for departure but still in Korea. Dad is issued a sleeping bag and describes it to Mom. He also says there are flags on buildings all over town and signs welcoming the American soldiers home. October 16, 1945. Dearest Mary, as usual after being processed to go home, the new rumor says we will be shipped out around October 27, 1945. I don't believe it, but we shall see what occurs. We were issued sleeping bags. You open a big zipper, jump inside and zip it up to your neck. It is nice and warm and only your head sticks out. I've been just taking it easy and sightseeing. You can see by the postcards I sent. It is a large and strange city. It looks like everyone is selling his furniture and clothes. There's always a cart full of stuff passing you on the street. When the train pulls into the station, they hurry and pack themselves in like sardines. Some people even get on the roof outside. Around the city are big archways with flags painted very nicely saying, "Welcome home" all over the place. Some buildings and taverns have "Welcome U.S. Army" painted on them. The markets are so full of people you can hardly move. I guess all parents teach their kids to say hello and ask for chocolate and gum. Mothers also strap their kids on their backs. The rest of the 59th Service Group arrived today. They left Okinawa 6 hours before the storm. We finally have warm water. This is wonderful because it is cold at night. According to newspaper, 17,600 troops are leaving Korea for home in October. If it is true, I am among the 200 on the list to leave. Every day the town is decorated with all kinds of welcome U.S. Army signs. It looks like each group wants to outdo the other group. All my love, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific Warfront, thinking about his rattletrap car still in Korea. Dad wants to scrap his old car and buy a new one. However, he realizes they might be too expensive to buy at the present time. The town celebrates Korean Liberation Day, and more signs stating Welcome U.S. Army are appearing daily. October 20, 1945. My sweetheart, today was Korean Liberation Day. They had a large parade. Different political parties had fights with each other, and a few bricks were thrown. I was watching the parade when all of a sudden, bricks and torn papers were flying down from a third-story window. Our military police were mounted on horses, and the city looked like a guarded fortress. There were so many military police around. I only saw one Korean man get hurt by a brick on his head. I sort of stayed clear to one side, for this is no joke. Darling, I'm getting so sick of this place now. We have to wait until October 28, 1945 to get on a boat unless the army changes the date. I have enclosed some picture cards of Kinjo Seoul on Cheongsong. It is all the same place. Tonight I got home and fried 10 eggs. And believe it or not, I still felt hungry. Don't let it worry you, as I'm not that always hungry except for you. Here is a story for you. A weak-minded American soldier walked into a Korean home. He was impersonating a military policeman. He tried to give the woman in the house the works. He was drunk or maybe mentally ill. How anyone could get excited about any Korean babe is beyond me. Korean women are very cold and are brought up to obey their husbands. When a single Korean man dates a girl, he tells her where and when to meet him. I was told this by an educated Korean interpreter for our service group. If it is a lunch date, she must walk alone to the restaurant to sit with him. I have not seen one bit of affection between Korean couples. The Japs are different in many ways. I asked my brother Stanley to get my old rattletrap checked over and fixed. I was told by some car dealers that new cars will be hard to get for some time. I guess I'll have to stick with my old car for a while. One has to realize that civilians and soldiers are the same now that the war is over, so they each have the same chance to buy new cars. Well, hun, this is all for now. With love always, Johnny. On the Southwest Pacific War Front, finally getting orders to leave Korea, Dad finds out he is actually leaving today. He is overjoyed. He tells Mom he will have a few steps before he can reach the east coast of the United States. October 28, 1945. Dearest Mary, I am leaving Korea for home today. Remember, I will have to stop a few places before I get to San Francisco. Please don't get too anxious, as it will take a little time. I sure feel as happy as can be, darling, and I can't wait to see you. I love you with all my heart. I am asking you to take it easy until I get there. I will send you a telegram as soon as I get to San Francisco, California. Hallelujah. More love coming, Johnny. On the home front in the United States, at last, Dad arrives in Seattle, Washington after a 16-day trip on a Marine Flasher 575-foot troopship. Back in the United States at last, he is overjoyed. November 12, 1945. My darling Mary, I landed in Seattle, Washington today after a 16-day trip on a Marine Flasher 575-foot troopship. I feel very happy. I think I will also have to check in with some Army personnel in Tacoma, Washington as well. Promise me you will not make any plans to travel to see me at Fort Dix in New Jersey, for I will be very busy. I will have to stand in line to get my final discharge. If you wait at home, I'll let you know one day in advance when I can come to see you. I will send you a telegram telling you the day and time you can expect me. After a 5-day trip, I know I look like a wreck, so one day at home will give me a chance to catch up. Our dreams are getting better all the time. Your dreamboat, Johnny. On the home front waiting for transportation from West Coast to the East Coast of U.S., Dad has been checked and issued orders for his return to Fort Dix, New Jersey. It will still take about 20 days before he might be able to visit Mom. November 13, 1945. Dearest Mary, I am still on the West Coast waiting for transportation. I have been checked and issued orders for Fort Dix, New Jersey. In about 7 days or less, I should be leaving here. Then it will be a 5-day trip to Fort Dix, combined with a 4-day or less stay once I get there. After all this, I will finally get to go home and see my folks. You can see by the details above, it will be 20 days yet before I can visit you. Please relax, baby, and take it easy. I really hate this waiting period especially, because we don't do a stitch of work so the time passes too slowly. The KP duty is done by German prisoners of war, so all we do is check this and that. The food is top of the line. I ate 2 quarts of ice cream the first day as well as a steak dinner with all the trimmings. The first telegram you already received was a standard one, which we were able to get while on the boat. I am as happy as can be, sweetheart, and I can't wait to come home to you. The Army sure is slow in getting us on our way. Each place claims they didn't have any word we were coming, and then they give some other excuses. Oh well, Mary, it's only a matter of days now instead of years. All my love to you, Johnny. On the home front in Tacoma, Washington, Dad is still waiting for any word about his transfer to Fort Dix, New Jersey, where he will be issued his discharge papers. November 19, 1945. Dear sweetheart, it's my 7th day here in Tacoma, Washington, and by the looks of things, every place is slow and far behind. If I have to wait when I get to Fort Dix, I'll try to get a furlough with pay. The Army works on your discharge papers even if you're not there in person. I can't wait to haunt you up close and personal. We can go shopping together, driving around, and oh yes, parking too, as well as a lot of other things. We have so much catching up to do. These last 7 days have been the roughest for me, for I know you are near, yet so far as well. I feel sad because your birthday came, and I couldn't get there to celebrate it with you. However, this is one Christmas we will spend together. We will celebrate in style, young lady. We will have to use my old car for now until new ones can be purchased. I hear even used cars cost a fortune. We will get a new car with cash. I am guessing we can't be too fuzzy about what color or model it will be as long as it is a new one. Darling, we are supposed to leave sometime today, so I will close for now. An armful of love, Johnny. On the home front in Fort Dix, New Jersey, Dad finally arrives in Fort Dix, New Jersey, where he will be officially discharged from the Army. Of course, he is so anxious to see Mom. He does not wait for discharge papers. Instead, he jumps a fence, hitchhikes to his house, and collects his rattletrap of a car. This will help him to get to Manville, New Jersey sooner. His anticipation is bubbling over. November 25, 1945. Dear Mary, I arrived in Fort Dix, New Jersey yesterday, and 10 minutes after I found my bed and barracks number. I knew it would take time before I would be issued my final discharge papers, so I jumped over the fence and headed home in my worst clothes. I was able to get by the main gate with a fake pass. I took a bus to Bordentown, New Jersey, just to get away from the camp. The reason I did this is because I wanted to get my car. We aren't able to get a pass to leave camp because our stay is too short. I reached Bordentown, and in 20 minutes, I was able to get a ride to Red Bank, New Jersey. I took a bus to the other end of town and was able to get a ride right to my backyard from a lady who lives in my hometown. I got home in less than 2 hours, but I sure looked a mess. I needed a shower and a shave, and I left my good clothes at Fort Dix. I didn't have any idea how long it would take me to be issued discharge papers and be able to leave the Army and return to civilian life. I looked like a hobo for 6 days of train riding, but at least I had my car with me. I got back to Fort Dix. No one stopped me, so I drove straight through the front gate. On Monday, I will start my discharge schedule, so by Tuesday, I should be free to leave. The time on my paperwork says 11:45 a.m., but the time may not be definite. It should be around 6 p.m. when I reach my folks' home. Hun, please get ready starting at 6:45 p.m. and as late as 8 p.m., for I definitely will be coming to see you. Don't tell me I didn't warn you. Gosh, hun, I feel wonderful and excited. My brother Walter got my car fixed, and I now have 4 brand new tires on it. Of course, it will need other repairs, but I can fix the rest myself. I can't believe I'm home at last. Keep an eye out for a Polish dance. I think there is one in South River, New Jersey on Wednesday night. I'll check on it to be sure. Oh yes, I'll be seeing you in the daytime too. All I need is a little gas money and I'm ready to go. Well, Mary, I can't sit around here anticipating my departure. I want you to go easy on me, and remember, I have a lot of jungle time in my system. So much love, Johnny. On the home front in Fort Dix, New Jersey, Dad has a nasty cold, but it won't stop him from seeing his Mary. He is thrilled and blessed to be home at last. December 8, 1945. My darling, I received your letter Tuesday afternoon, and was I surprised. I just got back from the garage where my car is all apart. The radiator fell out, and the entire motor is out, including the part with the gearshift handle. I had to hitchhike to Perth Amboy to buy parts. It only cost $60, so I was very happy, and now my oil will not leak out. I didn't have to wait more than 10 minutes to get a ride there and back. I am sneezing, and yes, I've got a bad, nasty cold. It's going to be tough to wait until Thursday, but I have no choice. I went to bed early on Monday and got plenty of rest for you, of course. You say your friends at the plant liked the engagement ring you picked out. I am so glad, for I wanted an extra special ring for an extra special girl who waited such a long time for me. I can't wait to have so many more wonderful days together. I'm in bed all alone listening to my radio. I feel handicapped because I have no odometer, but I'll get one soon. I will have to get some repairman cards and stationery printed, so I will be able to fix radios and receive parts at a 40% discount. You are so sweet, darling, and I miss you so much. If you need further information about my love for you, just park your ear next to my lips, and I'll let my heart tell you. All my love, Johnny. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom surprises Dad with another love letter. She tells him she wore her engagement ring to church and got a lot of compliments about it. December 10, 1945. Johnny, my sweetheart, are you surprised to hear from me? Don't be, as I miss you dear so very much. So I had to sit down and write to tell you. Honey, just in case you have forgotten, I want to tell you I love you with all my heart and soul. Please, Johnny, I want you to take care of yourself for me. The weather is getting nasty, and I don't want you to neglect yourself in any way. Remember, you sneezed exactly 3 times while I was with you. One sneeze was at home, and twice you sneezed at the little place we went to spend time together that evening. Did you really have a wonderful time as you said you had? A few of the girls mentioned that they saw us there. I was so proud of you. I'm so much in love that I feel like I'm floating in air. Stay just the way you are and keep all the words you say. Also, please don't ever change your attitude, for if you do, you will change my love for you. Darling, I wore my ring to church today. Sweetheart, I can't begin to tell you all the compliments I received. Remember, dear, when I told you the girls will look at my ring and think of the wonderful fellow who helped to choose it. You see, Johnny, you are a wonderful fellow. My wonderful fellow. I hope you didn't have any trouble with your car. I'm sure you are attending to it so the car will run much better. It seems to have improved since you came home. Johnny, no matter what is broken or hurt, just one touch from you and all is well again. I love you so very, very much. Take care of your health and don't rush around. I will wait for you as I have always done for a long, long time. Your lover, Mary. On the home front in Manville, New Jersey, Mom and Dad are engaged and supremely happy. Now they are thinking about their dream home. Mom sends Dad a picture of a home she is thinking will be perfect for them. January 1, 1946. My loving sweetheart, this is our dream home, darling. Someday soon we shall have one similar to it, and then I really will be proud of you and all the blessings we will have together. I love you, Johnny, and I can't wait to show you off to the rest of my family in your dress jacket complete with stripes, all your ribbons, and special hat. You have been so nice to me ever since the day I met you. Don't ever change your ways if you want to keep me happy. We had some visitors from my family recently, and I showed them all the beautiful items you brought home for us. They think you are wonderful, and so do I in case you forgot. You know, hon, I saw you this morning, but that is 7 hours ago. Gosh, I hope the next few days go by quickly. My cold is worse, and I can only talk above a whisper, but I will make sure I take care of myself and heal. I know I have some wonderful things in store for us. Well, darling, good night. I can't wait to see you in a few days nice and healthy. Your loving sweetheart, Mary.